again. It is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal, as I get my devices on this evening live stream. Happy New Year's to you folks that are tuning in as the room begins filtering in. So I do want to wish a happy New Year's and welcome 2024 to all of you folks who are starting to experience it along with your boy. But I'm going to be asking a question on, oh shit, now my window goes down. But I'm going to be asking a question that seems to be on the tongues of both liberals and MAGA alike, if not traditional Republicans as well. There are really four political groups in this country, but I'm grouping two together. But the four groups are progressives, Democrats, traditional Republicans, and MAGA. Those are the four groups. And I state them in that order because progressives are further left than Democrats. MAGA is further right than traditional Republicans. But the question I want to ask is, why do Americans fear, with emphasis on fear former President Trump? And I'm stating this from both a left and right-wing perspective, at least amongst my analysis. Folks on the right suggest you fear Trump because he's not a typical politician. He's going to basically name names, drain the swamp, you name it. Traditional Republicans, like some of those who testified before the January 6th committee, are suggesting that folks fear Trump because they fear losing their power, losing their political careers. And of course, the left fears Trump apparently because they believe he's a threat to democracy. But what about you folks? Do you see any fear of President Trump at all? And if not, why do so many others fear him? Many would suggest you got Trump living rent-free in your head, or Trump derangement syndrome is another popular diagnosis from some on the right. So we're asking that question. Why do so many Americans fear Trump, or at least suggest that others do? I'm hearing this from a lot of folks, so it's clearly not just some type of political opinion coming from the left, coming from the center, or coming from the right. Doesn't matter which crowd you talk to, there are going to be people in that crowd that suggest other people fear Trump for some various reason. So I'm asking, is President Trump, number 45, is he a fearful individual, somebody that people should fear? I'm going to go to the box. Happy New Year to all of you folks, certainly going into 2024. Hopefully this is a better year politically than last, but I'm going to lead the charge and state that most of you folks, including myself, probably think that's not true. Looking in the comments before we go to the box, I always state what I normally state in the program. The program is always will remain MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are always welcome on the program. No one gets blocked, banned, or censored for their commentary. I understand we're going to have people on this program that go left of Bernie Sanders all the way over to I'm having dinner with QAnon. We don't block, ban, or censor anybody. If you get on the program and you disagree with me, nobody gives a damn. It's all about free speech here. We'll start it straight out going to the box. Why do people fear President Trump? We'll start it out with new guy. What did I hear? William. Good afternoon, William, if the box lets you in. I don't know what's going on with the box already, but save democracy. Stop fascism. Vote blue. In the comments. Wow, you think that the right is a threat to democracy? Yikes. I'll give it another chance on the box. I tried to bring up a guest and we had some problems here. The media fears Trump, not the people. I think it goes a little bit further than it, but new guy can set me straight. Good afternoon, or better yet, good evening, new guy. Do you see any fear of the former president?
I think there's definitely some people that do fear him. They look at him as something they're not used to. Like that is the trend that you see a lot of people say is he's not a regular politician. He's worked in the private sector for many years. Some people look at him as just a loudmouth and disrespectful individual.
Well, let me ask you to you this way, because we're running the simulcast on YouTube, right? Kathy on YouTube says people fear Trump because he thinks he's above the law. Do you see any type of traces of Trump trying or looking like he's trying to think that he's above the law, or do you think that's all made up?
So I've always been a firm believer that we do have a two-tier justice system, and frankly, probably you and I, my friend, don't have the same funds that
True.
Trump
Absolutely.
or Joe Biden have to fight the system. Now, they have the money and backing to be able to pay for these fancy, expensive lawyers, but they're doing it according to the law. And a lot of people look at it like he's just trying to get away with something.
Yeah, but there's a lot of wealthy folks that we don't suggest are violating the law. I mean, you can be wealthy and still be law-abiding. Do you think Trump is 100% law-abiding? Or, as you state, do you think he's a very wealthy guy and using his finances to avoid charges that normal folks may face?
So, on the surface, we're going to have our differences of opinion, and people are going to think that he is skirting the system, right?
Yeah, but what say you? We asking you, though.
Do I think he's skirting the system?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's necessarily skirting the system. And the reason why I don't think that is because if he has been, don't you think they would have had something on him by now? I mean, even before he ran for president, because people have said that he's been a career criminal all of his life. I guess if that was the case, then they would actually have some proof.
Well, but that could also apply to the likes of Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and some of them folks that they're saying should be locked up on the right. And you said if there was something there, they should have had something.
I see, and that's the thing I agree with, because people have said that Trump is a dictator because he wanted to lock up Hillary Clinton. I think if he actually had enough proof to do that, then he would have done it. But I think he was doing that as a soundbite to get our attention and our excitement.
So he was acting like a dictator for a soundbite.
Well, why do you think he said it? Because he got the response that he wanted. Just like he got the response from a lot of individuals when he said that I want to be a dictator for the day and I want to close the border and drill, baby, drill. And people have run with that ever since he said that.
Fair enough. So in other words, you don't think he wants to be a dictator, but he's joking about it. Is that what you're telling me?
Ultimately, that's what I think it is, because when he won presidential, the first time, that's all we heard about was all these things that he was going to do. And he never did any of those things.
But that's normal, though, new guy. I mean, they said Barack Obama was going to turn us into socialist Greece. At the time, Greece was the country with the failed economy. Now it's Venezuela. So any Democrat that runs, they're going to turn us into Venezuela. But when Obama ran, they said gas was going to go up to $5 a gallon, and he's going to turn us into socialist Greece. They all say what I refer to as Armageddon politics. If Biden continues running the country, we're headed to World War III. Trump isn't the only person that's been accused of tearing Earth apart by being president.
See, I can agree with that. I guess the thing that, I would like to look back at under Trump's administration is we were not involved. We can do air quotes, involved in any kind of war. Unfortunately, we are involved with Russia and Ukraine. We are involved with Iran. Whether we have boots on the ground or not, we're still involved. And that's not a good thing.
But in hearing what you're talking about, whereas you're admitting even though you don't think he wants to be a dictator, you're admitting he's flirted with joking about it, then it would make sense for a lot of Americans to suggest Trump is acting like a dictator. Because like you said, he's constantly talking about it. Even if he's not serious, you can't fault folks for calling you something that you're joking about doing.
Well, I could easily say the same thing about Joe Biden because he's actually doing it.
Do you think Joe Biden is acting like a dictator?
I think he is.
Okay, give me some examples.
Well, the thing that...
Before you give me those examples, understand that by saying Joe Biden is doing the same thing, that means you didn't deny Trump. You're just going to Joe Biden. But give me your examples on Biden.
Well, I can say first, I don't think Trump was a dictator while he was president. Unfortunately, I do think that Joe Biden and his administration definitely have some dictator tendencies. The one thing that I have talked about numerous times, maybe you've seen, maybe you haven't, is why are the people on the left so worried about Trump running for re-election? Because I've asked that question, people say they're not. Okay, well, if they're not... They are absolutely worried. Okay, well, then you and I agree on something. Yeah. I think if you're not worried about him then why would you be going after him or trying to get him off the ballot? Because I feel like, and you tell me what you think about this, I feel like by trying to attack him and trying to take him off the ballot is the wrong move by the Democrats. Because all you're going to do is push his approval or his, wanting to win a re-election up that more. I mean, you're just basically pissing off the American people by saying, you guys can't vote for him.
Let me ask you this. What do you think about, and it's on topic, but you'll get it as we go on. What do you think about Nancy Pelosi as a politician?
I think she's made a lot of money.
How do you think you can make money and be a great politician for America? What do you think about her as a politician over this country?
I don't. I think she's put her own self-interest ahead of the American people. You look at her district. Would you say it's successful or not successful?
Depends on what metric. If you're pro-choice, it's very successful. But what I want to ask you is this. When you look at the likes of Nancy Pelosi, if you had to give her a letter grade, like in school, A, B, C, D, or F, what grade would you give her as a politician?
See, I'm a fair guy, so I'll give her a C-. How's that?
Okay. So C-, slightly below average, but not terrible. So what I want to ask you is this. If you don't sound like somebody who would normally vote for her, right?
Correct.
Okay. Let's assume you felt absolutely confident that let's say Nancy Pelosi was charged with a crime, civilly, federally, criminally, you name it. You felt 100% confident that she was being railroaded by the government for what she was being charged with. Would that make you want to vote for her then?
Well, I would wait. See, that's the thing, too. I want to just before I answer that question, I like to wait till I hear all the evidence coming out.
No, we're at that point. I'm saying, let's say you let's say you weighed all the evidence and you felt 100% confident that the charges she was facing was bullshit. Would that make you want to vote for her again as a politician?
No. And that's why I can say publicly right now, I have not given my public endorsement to Trump. I have not said, yep, I'm gonna vote for him in 2024. I haven't done that yet, just because I want to still kind of see what's going on. But the thing, and that's why I like to tell people, I'm not buying what Joe Biden and his administration are selling to us.
Yeah. Well, the point I'm trying to make is this. You stated that you're not likely to vote for Nancy Pelosi. And you did admit, even if the government was railroading her, a witch hunt, you name it, you're not going to vote for her. When folks suggest that the more you charge Trump, the more people are going to want to vote for him. I'm just pointing that out. If somebody goes against your principles, you're not going to vote for him because the government is going after him. That's all I wanted to point out. That's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and that's what I'm getting, as far as feedback when I do lives with people, that people, they're getting pissed off because they feel like the reason why they're going after him is because they don't want us to have that right to vote for him. The other reason why, and for the record, why I would not vote for Nancy Pelosi is because we have too many politicians that have been there for way too long. I think these individuals need to have term limits and age limits.
Okay. And that's nothing wrong with that. The point is, you have solid reasons you wouldn't vote for Nancy Pelosi, and no witch hunt is going to make you go vote for her. That's the same for Trump. If folks do not favor voting for Trump, even if he is getting railroaded by the system, that's not going to make people vote for him. So I don't understand why a lot of folks think that the more you charge him, the more his support is going to grow. Anybody that is going stronger for Trump because they think he's engaged in a witch hunt, they were already going to vote for him. It's just making their love of him or their support for him grow more. But you're not going to switch parties because you think somebody's getting railroaded by the system.
But I ask you a question. Do you think that if he was never going to run for re-election, that all these charges would have came up in the first place?
If Trump was the apprentice Trump, the Home Alone Trump that wasn't attacking politicians, no, these charges would have never came. These charges are like you getting pulled over for a speeding ticket, talking shit to the cops and asking, if I didn't talk shit to you, would you have given me a ticket for my license plate light not working or the low tread on my tire? No. These charges are political because you acted like an ass. No, I don't think he would have been charged with all this stuff.
Yeah, I see. I agree with you, and I can actually say honestly that there are definitely times where he says things, and I'm like, "Come on, man, really?"
What about bird brain? What about him calling Nikki Haley a bird brain? He's now calling her a bird brain. You think that's a good idea?
And see, that kind of stuff is just stupid and childish. It's the same with, him calling Chris Christie names. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen or who, sorry about that, it's my son. I don't know who's going to be, his VP, but, I mean, really, I would look at him kind of side-eyed, if he picked Nikki Haley as his VP. Why would you call her these names? And then she's your, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. You do something, you got some fatherly duties. I do appreciate you coming on, though. Happy New Year's to you and yours. Come on back anytime, new guy.
All right, thank you, sir.
Absolute. And that's what we're talking about. Why or do most Americans seem to fear President Trump? Now, this is obviously not a question for MAGA because MAGA loves Trump. They have legitimate reasons for why they like Trump. But even MAGA is stating that folks are scared of Trump because he's going to drain the swamp, he's going to expose corruption, you name it. Living rent-free in your head, you got Trump derangement syndrome. Folks on the traditional right, the Mitch McConnells, the Mitt Romneys, are also saying folks fear Trump. That if you go against them, you're going to lose your political career. There were 3 women this week with George Stephanopoulos came on Sunday morning stating that they were all Republicans, by the way, all worked in the Trump administration. And they stated most Republicans think the same way we do. Now, they testified at the January 6th hearing, so they believe Trump is guilty of an insurrection. They stated most folks on the Republican side think the same way we do, but they are scared to come forward. They are scared that if they say something negative of Trump, either their careers are going to be destroyed or they could get the death threats that we all have gotten. People fearing Trump. And then, of course, the liberals think he's a threat to democracy, fascism, you name it. So there's a lot of folks that apparently are fearful of Trump. Why is that? Looking in the comments, and why would their careers be over? Well, my eyesight must be on YouTube. Somebody asked, why would their careers be over? Because people will believe they're rhinos, or people will believe they're bought and paid for, or people will believe they're in it for their own personal gain. Mike Pence's career is over with. The only thing Mike Pence done wrong is refuse to not certify the election or not cancel the certification of the election. Mike Pence was respected among Republicans until January the 6th. The day before, even Trump was speaking positively of him. He lost his whole career because he spoke out against Trump. Same thing about Chris Christie. Chris Christie wasn't hated among Republicans until he got into a spat with Trump. That's why they fear him. Going back to the box, and Jay says MAGA is fear-based, scared of everything. Damn, you see MAGA as being scared of everything. Wow. What happened to FAAFO? William, I appreciate you holding. By the way, folks, tap the screen. You know how this program works. Try to get the likes up. We could easily be 20,000 by now, 700 plus of you in here. Program always will remain MAGA friendly. The floor is yours, William. Happy New Year. Good evening.
Happy New Year, Tim.
Absolute. Thank you. So why do folks fear the former president?
Well, I mean, just in my opinion, I think people on the left or the Democrats, however you would like to refer, I think they fear Donald Trump because they feel that he is the one Republican candidate that can get elected and may very well get elected if he's able to run. I don't think the people on the left really fear DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Ramaswamy or any of those guys too much. If they're running on the Republican ticket, I think they feel like Biden and Kamala Harris will win pretty easily against them.
Yeah, but William, we had 2 terms of George W. Bush. I don't remember folks suggesting that they feared him. He got elected. You say because Trump can get elected. Bush got elected. Folks didn't fear him. Jeb Bush was really electable until Trump came on the scene. Folks didn't fear Jeb Bush.
Well, to answer the question as best I can, I feel like that's why people on the left are really, they feel like this particular election is so important to them.
Hold on, William, hang on a second. What I want, because everybody's saying they cannot hear you. I'm going to ask you to drop out, come right back in. I'll bring you right back up. But I want to see if, because everyone's saying they cannot hear you at all. So I'm going to drop you and ask that you come right back on, and I'll bring you right back up. All right, so I'll give him a moment, and I see folks that they hear me. Jeb Bush never got elected. Well, he's coming back up. He stated that people fear Trump because they think he can actually get elected. And my pushback was George W. Bush got elected. Jeb Bush was almost guaranteed to get elected in 2016 if Trump didn't run. Nobody was fearing Jeb Bush. That's what I'm asking. We'll go back to William, see if you guys can hear it this time. I don't know why they didn't. That's weird. If it comes up. Okay, William, can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. Now, can you folks in the audience hear Will? Let me make sure they can hear you before.
Anyone hear me?
Okay, they got you. Okay, they got you. Continue. They can hear you.
Well, no, just what I was saying. I mean, I maybe I'm not stating myself clearly on it, but I just feel like the people in the Democratic Party or on the left, however you wish to refer to it, they fear Trump because they feel that if he is allowed to run, he could easily win the election. I don't think they're worried about DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Ramaswamy or any of the others. I feel like that they feel that Biden and Harris would beat them easily. I think that the left is afraid for Trump to run because he'll win and the Republicans will take over. I think that's to me, that's the fear factor that I see involved in it.
What about traditional Republicans, the Liz Cheney's types, that are also saying they fear that if Trump gets reelected, he could, be a threat to democracy? Why do you think they fear him?
Well, I think there is some division within the Republican Party. It's kind of like within a Democrat. You have some that are very far left and kind of really out there, very liberal.
Yeah, but the Bernie Sanders, the AOC types are not big fans of Joe Biden, but they're not saying that Joe Biden would destroy America. You got folks on the right that are actually Republicans saying that Trump is a threat to democracy.
Well, I do not. I'm aware of what you're saying, and it's true. I know that there are people in the Republican Party that they don't particularly want to see Donald Trump be elected either. I realize that as well.
So why do you think they're so scared of him?
Well, I think because he's not really a traditional Republican. He is kind of very far right. And for Republicans that are maybe more kind of moderate, they don't want to get lost in the shuffle. Everybody on the Hill is I don't know. It seems like they all have some kind of corruption to some degree.
Well, what about the notion, you got folks that are suggesting, and I'm talking about folks on the right. The liberals are obviously saying this stuff too, but I'm talking about traditional Republicans that are also saying that if Trump gets elected, he's going to use the government to go after his enemies, up to and including Republicans that he don't like. Do you think they're just totally wrong about that? Why do you think so many folks think that if Trump gets elected, he's going to be on a revenge tour?
Well, in politics, when people say things, I don't know what their motive is. I don't know if they're saying things simply because they really feel that way, or if it's just part of their narrative to go along with maybe some under the table deal that we don't know about. It's in politics this day and time. It's really just hard to know.
So when he said, "I will only be a dictator for one day," how did you view that?
I think Donald Trump says a lot of things that he would be better off for not saying. That's just my opinion. I don't take those things seriously myself. I think it makes pretty good fodder for people on the left to take that and run with it, but I just think sometimes he makes these offhand, very crude remarks that he doesn't need to make. He would be better off if he didn't make them.
Yeah. Well, you do understand that folks obviously were suggesting he was going to be dictator like long before he made that comment. So when you say something to confirm, literally, because even Sean Hannity is like, well, you don't really mean that, do you? I mean, so you see folks, you're giving people, as you say, you're kind of giving them red meat. You're giving folks what they've already been, what they've already been calling you. So do you see where that could lead folks to fear him, where he is actually joking about being, well, I'm assuming joking. I'm giving him a benefit of the doubt, but he's coming out in the open and said he would be a dictator at least for one day.
Oh yeah, I could certainly see where that, like I said, they could use that for fodder and in a legitimate way do so. I don't think that's anything that, I mean, he could, if he were elected, he would only have 4 years and he couldn't get elected again. So I don't feel like he could accomplish that in a 4-year period. But I know that he said that comment. I kind of felt like it was off the cuff, but I mean, it's politics, so people are going to take it and run with it. And, he should probably be a little bit more careful about what he says.
All right. No argument there. All right, William, I do got to move it on, but I do agree with you that certainly is a comment you shouldn't say in a country where everybody's talking about the Constitution, democracy, and things like that. That's just, I do believe, for instance, Obama, when folks were suggesting that he was going to try to become a dictator and never leave, that's not something you get up there and joke about, because a lot of people already are thinking that. Then you say something like that, you're confirming how people felt. So I'm with you. He shouldn't have said it.
I agree with you on that, Tim. Just sometimes it's best just not to say some things because it's just not appropriate. It's not the time and the place. It's just not appropriate.
Absolutely, fair enough. I appreciate you coming through, William. Have a good New Year. We'll be talking again soon, I'm assuming. So I do appreciate you coming in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to work, but thank you for having me up, Tim.
Anytime. Now, looking in the comments, someone asked a question I wanted to respond to. I don't know what the hell's going on with the eyesight. Maybe I need to pull these down. Scylla Bryan or something like that asked the question: how much damage can he do in 24 hours? A lot. Just wanted, because folks, we only gonna be a dictator for one day. What could he do? Well, let's say, for instance, you got a right-hand man that you want to do dictatorship. In that one day, you could, with the stroke of a pen, give that person a ton of power. I only was a dictator for one day. I gave all the power. I mean, there's a ton of things you could do. You could sign a host of bills on day one. There's a lot of damage you can do in one day if you sit there signing bills all day long. Some would suggest that Biden's handling of the border, maybe something he signed, maybe not falling through on the wall. It doesn't take but one stroke of the pen to implement a bad policy that could be going on forever and ever. I mean, they took down Roe versus Wade in a single day. Once that ruling came out, people are going to be paying for that for a long time. Yeah, one day can be very damaging. It depends on what you do on that day. Appreciate that cowboy hat there. Thank you. Looking in the comments. Yes, Biden has sent tons of money for war instead of taking care of the American people. I'll go back to the box, but real quick, I'll say this. I hear this all the time. Instead of sending money to the Ukraine, why don't we take care of our own people? And then most of the same folks saying that are against or were against extending unemployment, minimum wage increase, tuition loan forgiveness, universal health care when nobody. If you can't say you're for taking care of your own people when everything that comes down the pipe that would overwhelmingly help Americans, you're against. I don't understand what folks on the right mean when they say take care of Americans instead of helping folks out overseas. When I can go through program after program after program that folks voted against that happened before we sent the dime to the Ukraine. If you were in favor of universal health care, overwhelming recipients of that would be Americans. Tuition loan forgiveness, the overwhelming recipients of that would be Americans. I thought you were for helping your own people. I don't understand that. I just do not understand that comment. Don't send the money overseas. Help out Americans here. While at the same time, I don't want a woman to continue getting food stamps. She's just going to have another kid. I don't want to give you an extension on unemployment. You're just going to use that not to get a job. I don't see where folks are in favor of helping out Americans. It just sounds, and I'll ask you folks this, and I'll go right back to the box. Let's assume the Ukrainians were able to push Russia out of that country. They got up their import-export market, started doing well, and was able to give 100% of all of the finances that they got from America, paid back for all the equipment, missiles, weapons we sent. They gave us the dollar amount that we have lost to the Ukraine. They gave 100% of it back to Americans. Do you think your life would change at all? And I'm talking about to you folks that may have 2 jobs, maybe barely getting by. With America getting 100% of that money back, do you think your life would change at all? Do you think the government would start helping you out? That's why a lot of folks aren't concerned when you say, well, bring the money back and help people. You weren't helping me out before you sent the money over there. So what leads me to believe we had veterans that were homeless before this happened. So the idea that we should bring the money back and help out Americans, a lot of Americans ain't buying it because we don't have a track record of doing it before. If you had a ton of Americans protesting, they were giving us housing insurance or housing assistance until they started sending the money to the Ukraine. I was getting a tuition grant until they started sending money to the Ukraine. I'm homeless, but I was in a shelter until they started sending money to the Ukrainians. Then you have the support you're talking about. But it's pretty clear that these people were getting fucked over before any money was being sent to the Ukraine. So I don't think people are buying that. But I'll go back to the box. Perhaps I'm getting it wrong. Everything is big in Texas. Let's see if his opinion is equally as large. Texas, good evening. Happy New Year's. Welcome to the program.
Hey, I don't have much to talk about. I was just compelled to get on here and say thank you. I listen to you sometimes, and you're always open-minded. You're always respectful.
Appreciate that.
In this day and age, it's rare to see.
Wow.
I see a lot of people on here wanting to just argue and not listen to each other. So thank you for doing that for people, and hopefully your message, because what you say, we're not separated, as a people unless we allow ourselves to be. And
that is true.
The easiest way of doing that is ignoring each other and always wanting to scream, I'm right, you're wrong.
Yeah. Well, and we tried. We certainly try not to do that. One thing I will never do is talk down to a guest simply because you think I'm an idiot or your opinion is different than mine. I do believe in hearing what a person has to say. We don't have to agree, but I do believe everybody has a right to speak.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. There's not too many people like that out there left, it doesn't seem like, especially the younger generations. They just want to yell, scream, and argue. I do have one question.
Sure.
Who's going to win the Sugar Bowl?
You mean between Alabama and Michigan?
Well, that's the Rose Bowl. It's on right now.
Oh yeah, I should be tuning. Who's in the Sugar Bowl again?
It is Texas and Washington.
Well, what am I supposed to say to a man named Texas?
I want you to say what you feel.
I don't know. I might be looking at Washington, man. I don't know.
That's fair.
All right.
I'm scared.
All right, fair enough.
Winning right now.
Oh, you said what?
Alabama's winning right now.
That was expected. All right. But I do appreciate you coming on, man. Anytime. Listen, any opinion you have is welcome here. You don't, like I said, you don't have to agree with me on anything. Sometimes I learn a lot from you folks. Hopefully, I can educate some of you folks sometimes, and we can meet in the middle. That's what it's all about.
That is, man. I appreciate it. I just gave you a follow. I'll be back. For sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Texas. All right, moving the program on. By the way, if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle without any concern of the host trying to ban, block, censor you, or tell you what you should say, then you're in the right place. We don't do any of that here. We're all about free speech. So follow the program if that's what you like. Monday through Friday, noon is when we're here. Looking in the comments, Kim says you should run for president. Whoa, I don't know. You know, so much shit comes up. They go into your closet and they bring every skeleton out of your closet. And if you don't have any skeletons in your closet, you can guarantee they're going to hire an archaeologist to put a few fossils in there. And as I always say, all my skeletons are big bone. Going to the box. We'll keep it moving with Ether, ETH, good evening. Happy New Year's. Thank you for that subscription. I think it says Squirrel. My eyesight must be going bad. Damn, I could not see the name that popped up there, but thank you for that subscription. ETH, did you pop up?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, now the screen may have went dark because for some reason I've been having some problems with the box on here, but we're talking about folks suggesting that they're scared of President Trump. A lot of folks, a lot of voters, a lot of Americans are fearful of a second Trump's term. Does that make any sense to you?
You know, this narrative is so powerful, and you know, the narrative they push, a lot of people buy into it.
Who are they? Who are they?
You know, the evil elite, the World Economic Forum, you know, tied in with the UN. But I think we are to be more. I think Klaus Schwab has more of an influence on this world than the president. And I think, you know, who the presidents are willing to serve. I think Justin Trudeau is a perfect example of who he's serving. And he, you know, he was part of the WEF young.
So you believe there's a narrative being pushed against President Trump by elites that, like Charles Schwab. You think Schwab is the reason that folks are hating and not liking Trump or scared of Trump?
Well, I mean, Larry Fink has a huge control. I think Larry Fink and BlackRock and the World Economic Forum have an amazing amount of influence on what news you see. I mean, these same companies own Fox, they own CNN. They decide what you see and what you don't see. And I think, you know, if we're the people, we should not be standing with companies that side with you know, if Google and Facebook and YouTube are voting one way, the general people should be voting on the opposite side.
Well, let me, in regards to the notion that an outside entity is altering our thought of Trump, Kim in the comments says something that might resonate with a lot of detractors of Trump. She says the way Trump left is what's scaring her. It's not the media, it's not Charles Schwab, it's not the elites. She's looking at what was on television on January 6th and saying, I don't want that again. How do you respond to folks who say what Trump did on January 6th is why they fear him?
Once again, you know, the narrative, you know, they didn't tell us a lot of stuff in the beginning about what happened on January 6th. They didn't tell us that the police instigated the amount of violence that happened. You know, it was a peaceful protest, and you know, they were very selective on what they showed the people.
But they got guys in the crowd suggesting that the vice president should lose his life. You think that's peaceful to you?
No, I don't. No,
And Trump, Giuliani, and Steve Bannon continued that speech while these folks were in the audience. Yeah, I mean, it was a bunch of them chanting out, you know, H. Mike Pence. Do you see that as peaceful at all?
No, I don't. No, I mean, I disagree with that. I'd say the majority of the people went there to do something, you know, positive and have a positive effect. I think you had a handful of instigators that, and you know, many of, and you know, some of those instigators. I saw a video of an informant or an agent cutting the fence so the people would be in territory that they could later be prosecuted for. So I mean, you see them opening the doors, and so I think it was entrapment.
Yeah, but when you see folks in the crowd calling for the death of the VP, can you understand how a voter might see that and think, I don't want this again? Does that make any sense at all? Because you say it's only a small number of folks. You watch the video of that. It's not like the surrounding folks were like, y'all need to go home. Like if I showed up to a Trump rally wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt or a t-shirt with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, they would immediately tell me, you need to get out of here. Yet these folks are suggesting the vice president lose his life. Another guy openly wearing a Camp Auschwitz t-shirt. Nobody's asking him to leave. So how are folks supposed to feel about the peaceful protesters sitting there mingling amongst us?
Yeah, that's a good question. Any supporter is seeing support for Trump something positive, I imagine, as long as people are there for the cause. You're right, that more people should have, the same way on, in 2020, that how come the protesters didn't stop people from burning down buildings?
That's a good question. I wouldn't vote for any of them to become president.
No.
Right. But in this case, if Obama was sitting there leading a violent riot, I wouldn't vote for Obama either. Certainly if they got on Camp Auschwitz t-shirts and things, I wouldn't vote for him. I get your point that what happened during the summer of 2020 was not right, but none of them are running for president. And I will tell you this, if any of them in the future run for a high office and they're seen on video from 2020 setting fire to cars or things, they shouldn't win either. They shouldn't be elected either.
Yeah, there was, two sides of the story. There's parts of the speech, if you want to cherry pick and say, we need to fight like hell, or if you want, to march peacefully and patriotically or whatever he said, I think, I don't think his intention was to lead an insurrection.
Right. Well, let me ask you this question. The ones that did get caught on the video busting windows or, stealing things out of the office, rubbing feces, do you think those people are criminal?
Yeah, for busting windows, and those guys they took it too far. They really did. And when you have, how many people were there? If you're going to have a couple bad apples. But I think a lot of the people that got, horrible sentences, in comparison to I see the riots, the Black Lives Matter riots. There were police stations that were burnt down. They were barricading people inside of buildings when they were burning them down. And do we call that, and if there are people being paid to go and burn down buildings, what does that mean?
You do realize during the summer of 2020, when all those riots was taking place, Trump was president. Why didn't he try to do more to get it stopped? It's not like Biden or the liberals were in control of the country. Trump was president during that time.
I thought he did. I thought he was requesting, National Guard and stuff to protect places, but they were saying that wasn't acceptable.
Well, apparently his effort to request National Guard doesn't often go very well. He's not good at requesting the National Guard, apparently.
Yeah, and I think there were people that wanted to, on January 6th, wanted more. Didn't he ask for more attention to?
That's a good question. I don't, because folks try to say that it was Nancy Pelosi's job. Others say that it was, the mayor of D.C. It was everybody's job but President Trump to ensure that security was provided at his own event. My simple response is this. I don't know whose job it was to provide the National Guard there on January 6th, but it was absolutely Trump's duty to make sure that request had been met. If they don't have the DJ, you don't have the party. So when you showed up on January 6th, if you don't have proof that the National Guard is there, you don't throw the party.
Yeah, so you're saying without having adequate enforcement, he shouldn't even proceeded.
Unless you don't mind what happened.
Right.
Yeah. And I will say this also. I've said this on a number of other programs. One of Trump's biggest political rivals is Nancy Pelosi. The idea that you threw something and you just blindly expected Nancy Pelosi to follow through, you didn't even check to make sure she did her job. Your number one enemy. It makes sense that she might throw you under the bus. It doesn't make sense that you didn't first verify that she wasn't throwing you under the bus. He don't get a pass if it was her job, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and you know, I think it's interesting that the chief of police said there were so many agents there that they didn't even, there was agents upon agents that were undercover. And, you know, and I think there was some of these agents might have taken it too far. I think you know, they showed the guy going in and getting arrested, and then they handcuff him when, you know, they find out who he is. But you know, there was a lot of instigators there that I think, you know, we can't put it past them. The people don't always.
How do I instigate you to commit multiple felonies? What would I have to do to make you commit felonies?
So one agent, he cut the fence. He was on video cutting the fence, so people didn't know there was a barrier there, that it was trespassing, and so they were all like kind of shoved in, and they you know, so that right there is a pretty ballsy move. You know?
Yeah, but if you look at the video on January 6th where any barrier was negotiated, there are also signs there. They didn't just cut the fence. They walked right past signs that say this is not open. I mean, you see how the crowd went into the Capitol. I mean, they used to have tours of the Capitol building. You've never seen a tour orchestrated where literally thousands of people were climbing the walls and going in there at once. You didn't need to see an open fence to notice the way we're doing is something's wrong with this. Not to mention the people are going in there yelling out kinds of hateful statements. You know, we're going to get Nancy Pelosi. We're going to take over the Capitol. No one that went in there did not know that the intent of going in there was not good. People were yelling out that they're not there for anything good.
Yeah, you know, that's true. You know, there is a program called Silent Skies that has air marshals that are supposed to be on the planes, and since December 6th, they have, anybody that has flew into the DC area has been put on a watch list, and they've been wasting all our resources following these people rather than following, you know, potential people that are coming from controversial places in the world.
Well, they believe they were trying to overthrow the government. At the end of the day, do you think what Trump did on January 6th, do you think that was a good thing for America?
Yeah, I think it turned out being a horrible thing. I think it isn't what they were hoping for, and it was an immense opportunity to create division. You know, I think when we have people, you know, Biden calling Trump supporters white supremacists is causing a divide in this country.
Yeah.
And that is unnecessary, and it's no way to bring people together. But you know, I think we're not focusing on the important issues, and that's an agenda that's like Agenda 2030 that's being pushed, that includes depopulation, you know, resolving of government land, takeover of abolishment of private property, you know, CBDC, digital currency. These are the real important things
I hear your point. I do got to move it on, but I will say this. Everybody has, as you say, a real important issue. I mean, if a woman is carrying a child and she's facing death, that might be an important issue to her. If somebody else is about to lose their house to overtaxation, that might, I mean, everybody has a different issue. Like you're talking about digital currency and things like that. The average American making 40, 50 grand a year, that's not a big deal to them. I mean, it depends on where you are at in life.
Right. Yeah, I think those are, I think, you know, Project 25 is a real threat, but it takes a constitutional amendment to pass it. And I think the agendas that are in place are far more detrimental to our freedom.
Okay. Last question. You think Trump should pardon those that are in, like he suggested he might do?
Some of them definitely. Yeah, I think a lot of people that were just escorted into the White House and were let in. I think that and some of those people, I think that they seem real. I mean,
okay. Well, let me ask, real quick. Now you're making me want to ask you one other quick question. In regards to people being escorted and let in, obviously, if let's say QAnon Shema for us, he's a person that's on video being escorted and let in. Now he's also in video taking over the main desk or whatever. He's basically on the floor on the do you think he thought all that was normal? That the police escorted him in to just take over the building and go all over the place? Do you think he thought what he was doing was normal?
Jacob Chansley, he's a very. I have a video posted, and I encourage people. I boost other.
Yeah, but that's not answering the question. I'm saying you got the guy roaming around in Viking paint on the house floor behind people's desk. You think that's what he thought the police was escorting him in and let him do all of that?
He was careful. He didn't get all that much time compared to some.
But I'm just saying, do you think that he deserved to go to jail? You think what he did was normal because he got escorted in by the police, and that's what he was doing.
He was let in, and if the police were doing their job, they wouldn't have let him in. He would have never got in trouble.
Okay.
So I think it's a bit of entrapment.
All right. So maybe some of the police should be thrown in jail too then.
Well, they show him opening the doors. I mean, for God's sakes, something, you can't hold it's entrapment. As soon as you open the door to let the crowd in, it's a bit of entrapment.
Oh, maybe they thought they might get overrun and get killed if they didn't. I'm just going to tell you, we know that certain sides, just like we got video of them being let in, we also got video of people breaking windows and busting in. So we know
those people definitely should have had some repercussions.
But that's not the point. The point I'm making is we know even the police who let people in, their radios were undoubtedly yelling out with people calling for backup and saying we were overran. There's no way in hell one side of the building is being overran and the folks letting people in on the other side don't know that. So obviously the police should have to explain, why are you letting people in when all your brothers on the other side are being overran? Right?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
All right, I got to move it on, but I'm going to ask that you go ahead and...
Keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, thank you. Happy New Year's to you, by the way. Real quick, I can't see you on the box, so go ahead and drop out, because for some reason I can't see it on there, but I do appreciate you coming on. All right, looking in the comments, real quick, I wanted to answer a comment I saw on YouTube. I don't think you can make that assertion. You weren't there. How do you know what the general mood theme was on the ground? That's mind reading, if I ever heard it. Well, in regards to the mood on January 6th, you are correct. I can't be a psychic and tell you how they felt, but I can tell you what I heard. I mean, if people are suggesting that the vice president loses life, you think they're in a happy mood? I mean, they were yelling things, roaming the halls with megaphones. Is that a normal tour where you go through the halls unguided with a megaphone yelling 1776 and things? I don't think anyone, even the ones that were supposedly let in by the police, they knew that was not a normal tour. Even though they were being let in by the police, they all knew that even though I'm being let in, the building is being overrun on the other side. Or as I pointed out, QAnon Shaman and those folks are all on the house floor, climbing over chairs and things like that. You've had a tour. You've never went on a tour anywhere where you were allowed to do something like that. So even the folks who were let in and knew this is not normal, They knew something is going on wrong. This is not the normal way we do this. There's no line. There's no instructions. There's no guide. We're just roaming free. You gonna tell me they didn't know something was different about that? Looking in the comments, do you think it was Black Lives Matter? They would have had enough National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol. Some have suggested that if Black Lives Matter tried to organize an event with that much radio noise leading up to the event, they would have had National Guards there. Some have suggested that. I tend to believe that. It's not like this just fabricated because a bunch of people were angry. This was planned. That was what the whole January 6th hearings committee thing was about. There's a lot of planning. A lot of folks want to suggest, well, this just fabricated and people got angry and they went there and Trump said go peacefully. Trump did say go peacefully, but there is a lot of digital footprints to suggest that a lot of them were not coming peacefully. It's not like they waited to January 6th to get angry. There's a lot of digital information to suggest a lot of them came there on January 6th already angry. I mean, we can ignore it, but it does exist. Looking in the box, tell a lie long enough and people forget the truth. That is true. Happens on both sides. Appreciate that, Jinx. Thank you, Jinx, for that heart. And by the way, Happy New Year's, everyone. I do appreciate those that are following. Monday through Friday, we are here. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. Program is, always will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. It's all about free speech. We will never try to tell you what to say or how to think. We're here to hear what you got to say. That's how we run the program. Going back to the box, we'll go to Aaron. Good afternoon. Good evening, rather. I'm used to saying good afternoon, but good evening, Aaron. We're talking about the notion that so many folks, voters, constituents, fear President Trump. Is that unfounded? Do you see any legitimate reason to fear President Trump? Yeah! Thank you, Dakota.
His mouth sometimes gets him in trouble.
What has his mouth done to make people fear him, though?
Basically, when he said, I will be the dictator for...
I'll be a dictator on day one, for one day.
Yeah.
Is that something that makes you fearful of him?
No, because I've heard Trump saying things that was way worse than that.
Damn, like what?
Not worse, but as equally as bad.
Do you think Trump would try to be a dictator if he gets reelected?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you think he's a better president than Biden?
I do.
Okay. So you do believe that, is it safe to say that you think the suggestion that people are fearful of Trump, it's unnecessary? He'll do fine by the country and there's no need to fear him. You think there is a reason to fear him?
I think the Democrats fear him because they do not have the power. And another thing is, too, that you have too many misleading things on both sides.
Misleading how? Misleading what?
Like, for example, that Trump supporters and MAGA supporters are spearing hate. Well, I remember a couple things that the Democrats said as well that was also spearing hate. And, like, for example, I forgot her name, but she was holding a bloody Trump head, a mask, a bloody...
You're talking about the
Trump
comedian?
mask.
Yeah, you're talking about, I cannot think of her name. Redhead lady. You're talking about her that was with the bloody... But she's just a regular citizen. I'm talking about politicians, though. I mean, there's a lot of folks on the left and right that say hateful things, but we're talking about somebody with some power. Kathy Griffin, I think Kathy Griffin, people are saying. She's just a comedian.
You had some politicians that were saying bad things too, like Chuck Schumer with Kavanaugh, saying you have released the whirlwind. And you also had Elizabeth Warren saying things like, we will fight to keep Donald Trump out.
So you see her comment that we will fight to keep Trump out. You see that as a threat?
I'm saying, what's the difference between what Trump says with his mouth and what Democrats were doing with their mouth?
Lack of action, I
Like
think.
this.
That's a good question. I would respond by saying lack of action. When somebody like Elizabeth Warren says, you know, we need to fight or something, it doesn't carry the same weight, apparently, with supporters of Elizabeth Warren than it would with supporters of Trump. If Trump says we need to fight, the response is likely to be stronger. I think that's probably the only difference.
Okay. I have and I remember when Kavanaugh with the abortion, wasn't his house?
Yeah, yeah. His house was protested in front of. They were making threats, yeah.
And I forgot, were they Republicans or Democrats?
They were pro-choice people. I mean, you didn't have a lot of male Democrats going to Kavanaugh's house. Those are women. Probably some Republican women were in that crowd as well. We just don't give them credit, but I'm going to assume with the vote in Ohio, in Kansas, and some of these other states, there's some Republican women that don't think what Kavanaugh did is good either.
But they're acting like they totally banned abortion.
Well, yeah, you're right. They didn't totally ban abortion yet. But if you live in certain areas, having an abortion, the cost of it could be 20, 30 times. If you live in Miami and you can't have an abortion, do you realize it may be a day's travel by car? I mean, where are you going to go? All the way up north, somewhere pretty damn far away. I can't even think of the nearest state to Florida that you would be able to go to. They didn't ban it, but they have made it incredibly cost prohibitive.
So that's just one thing. Democrats, what don't get me is that Democrats are calling, and one more thing,
Sure.
that they're calling MAGA people basically racist and everything else.
Yeah.
Do you believe that every Trump supporter is like that?
I'm going to say no, and I'm going to raise you by asking you, do you think every liberal is a socialist?
No.
Because that's what that side is calling our side too. So I want to let you know that politics happens. Everybody on the right is calling everybody on the left socialist. So understand that while it is wrong to automatically call all MAGA racist, you can't play victim when you're doing the same thing to the other side.
Oh no, I agree, and that's what I'm trying to get at too. There's division on both sides, just not one side.
Yeah.
Honestly, there's a lot of things that are concerning to me on both sides of the
What concerns you on the right? I mean, you believe Trump is better for the country than Biden. There's nothing wrong with that. So if you think Trump is a better president, what concerns you from Trump?
What concerns me from Trump is his mouth and the way he acts. And it's just the way he puts himself out there. He really doesn't look presidential, and sometimes he can make himself look stupid. And I don't think that's good on the world stage.
So would it be safe to assume that even though you think Trump is a better president than Biden, you would probably prefer somebody leading this country that's not Biden or Trump?
Yes. And I think right now it is the governor from Florida.
Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis.
You think Ron DeSantis would be okay? Fair. What about Nikki Haley?
I don't know about Nikki Haley. She just doesn't seem like she's good enough for the country right now, what the country needs right now.
How do you feel about folks I'm talking about my beloved MAGA that think Ron DeSantis is not good because he's not loyal to the president. Do you see Ron DeSantis as lacking loyalty in any way?
I don't.
All right. So you think Ron DeSantis? Well, we'll see. I mean, I think right now in order, it's Trump ahead by a mile. I think Nikki Haley is taking the lead over DeSantis, but we'll see. I do got to move it on, though. I appreciate.
I would vote for Trump if he gets into the election.
Okay. That's going to happen. That's likely going to happen.
Because I do believe that Trump, I like to outweigh the pros and cons.
Uh-huh.
I know Trump is still old and Biden's old, so I'm not going to even use that as a pro and con.
Fair enough.
But just what I'm seeing with the overall peace in the world compared to Biden and compared to Trump, that's a big thing for me.
All right, and you're not the only one saying that. I don't know if all of the parties that are warring around the world would have stayed that way if Trump was reelected, but he is able to say under my watch none of this was happening. I don't know if that would have been the case if he had been serving his second term, but he can say that because it wasn't the case on his first term. But I appreciate you coming on there, and I do got to move it on. Anytime, come on back through.
Thank you for being kind. That's what I like about your live.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I will always be that way. Come on back anytime. And Happy New Year's to you.
You too.
Thanks. And I want to respond to another comment I saw on YouTube because I was bringing up the literal fact that a lot of folks on the left call folks on the right, particularly Trump supporters, racist, and a lot of folks on the right call liberals and Democrats socialists. Well, on YouTube, I had somebody ask me, Kaser, for some reason I can't read the fine print tonight, but he asked me, do you think socialist is equivalent to racist? Depends on where you're from. Depends on who you say it to. Depends on who hears it. People who came to this country from Cuba or Venezuela, where they have escaped brutal socialist dictators, socialism is probably worse to them than racism. But I'm not here to play semantics and debate which one is which. Wrong is wrong. You don't get to slap me, have me punch you. Well, do you think a slap is equal to a punch? Don't slap me. If you're not a fan of being wrongfully labeled, don't wrongfully label others. Well, your insult was worse than mine. Just try not using any of them. Then you have the actual high ground. But trying to say that, well, yeah, I insulted you, but your insult is worse. No, there's no credibility in that. Just simply stay away from it if you don't like it when it happens to you. If you don't like being referred to as a racist, which is wrong to group everybody up as a damn racist, then don't group everybody up as a socialist. No different than folks might say everybody on January 6th was a violent protester and, well, no, most of the people who were there peaceful. Well, then that same attitude should apply to Black Lives Matter. Everybody that protests at a Black Lives Matter rally is not a rioter or a looter either. Just understand this does work both ways. I'm talking to liberals, I'm talking to folks on the right. This does work both ways. Don't complain when some form of the same shit is coming back at you. Well, yours is harder than mine was. No, just don't get involved in it. Looking in the comments, they don't have an understanding on the other side. It depends on who you're talking to. I totally agree. Let's not insult either way, but these things are different and have different political utility. It depends. Like I said, it depends. Some people vote. The term socialist literally affixed to the Democratic Party primarily by Bernie Sanders. Now, the Joe the Plumber, issue with President Obama spread the wealth around, it started during that era. But Bernie Sanders running in 2016 took it to a whole different level because he was the first to come out and say, yeah, I am a socialist. But Hillary Clinton's not a socialist. So when you say that, well, we shouldn't name call, but one's political, if you come from some of these Hispanic countries that escape socialism, it is very powerful politically as well. Just like the Democrats know what they're doing by calling all these folks on the right racist, folks on the right know what they're doing by labeling everybody a damn socialist. I'm not here to pretend like one is worse than the other. I'm here to say if you do it, you're wrong no matter which one you're doing. Looking in the box, they were calling Medicare and Social Security socialism back in the day. Anything that you give to the poor, the lesser among us, that is forced by the government, people on the right going to call it socialist. They're going to call it socialist because it is a socialist tenet. If you down 911, you don't pay for that. That is a socialist tenet. That's something that is a service provided to you, and it's essentially paid for by the haves that the have-nots have access to. It's a socialist policy. Without it, if you had a 100% capitalist country, there would be no public schools. There would be no 911 services. You would be paying for all of that shit a la carte. Fire department come out to your house. We had to use 2 trucks. We had to use a ladder. We bill $1,000 per truck per hour. We had to use 20 liters or gallons of water or whatever measurement they want. They would bill you for all of that. That's how capitalism works. So the idea that America is 100% capital or a capitalist country, no, you have some policies that are capitalist and some that are socialist. You pay less than $1 to mail a letter in this country, any other location in this country. You think it only costs a few cents to mail a letter from here to Hawaii? No, there's a lot of socialism involved in that. The country wouldn't function if it was purely capitalistic. It would not function at all. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with Toots Sweet. I love the name. Good evening. Happy New Year's if it brings them on. The box is really problematic this evening. Toots, good evening.
How are you doing? Good looking.
Okay. I don't even want to know where that's going, but your voice.
You're the handsome liberal.
Okay, that sounds better.
So, you know, I first of all, I love what you do here. And we need more people that have this discussion and are open to opposite opinions. But so now let's go back to people afraid of Trump. All right, now when the young lady who was here before, she said something about Kathy Griffin, and you dismissed it as, oh, she's just a citizen.
It's a citizen.
Well, actually, that was a propaganda campaign put on by the Democrat Party and it was like a commercial that they put on. They did the same thing.
Wait a minute. You're saying that when Kathy Griffith held up that severed head of Trump, you're saying Democratic money went into her doing that?
Absolutely.
Where's the evidence? Based on what Democrats contributed to that?
Well, I always go by cui bono. Who did it benefit? That wasn't something to benefit. That wasn't something that Trump would have put out.
No, but it doesn't mean the Democrats had anything to do with it either. Maybe she just really hated Trump.
Okay, well, it was a production, it was a TV production.
Yeah, but you said Democratic money, like Democratic politicians. Where are you getting that from?
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Either way.
Yeah, it does. You said something that's completely fabricated. I don't. If you can show me where Nancy Pelosi gave her money, you would have a point. I'm trying to find out.
It's the same people that donate to Nancy Pelosi that gave her money. It's the Democrat machine. But all right, so let's just move on. Then you had Johnny Depp. He literally said in a statement, now these people have huge press orders. When they say something, it's touched by millions and millions of people. So now you have Johnny Depp saying that when was the last time an actor unalived a sitting president? He was going back to, obviously, Booth with Lincoln. Then you had Snoop Dogg do a video where he literally takes out a pew and unalives Donald Trump. Then you had Madonna say, when I want to go to the White House and whatever, I don't even know what words I'm allowed to use. But
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Forrest, they put it up in smoke. Then you had Kamala Harris, a politician. She said that the 2020 riots should never end and they should be more violent. Then you had Cuomo say.
I don't remember that part, but keep going.
You don't remember that part?
Where she said the riots should be more violent?
Keep on going. It should never end and get more violent. Yes. Then you had Maxine Waters say that get in their face. You should get. They should not be.
Now that you got a point. Maxine Waters is your first legitimate example that I've heard. I would have to hear the one about Kamala Harris. That would be a legitimate example if I can see it.
You could love Kamala Harris. She said that these should never end. They should continue on. All right. Then you had, and this is why they burned.
But wait a minute. Did she say they should continue on or they should get more violent? It's a difference between a protest and acts of violence. Did she use the words "get more violent"?
Words. You always say that Donald Trump, what he said, when he didn't say half the things that people say that he said.
No, but I want to get clarity from you. You said they should keep going and quote unquote get more violent. Is that a?
Yes, I'm pretty sure she said that. I don't remember every quote. There's so many. Now, Chris Cuomo did say that. Chris Cuomo said that. What do you mean? What do you mean that just because they're violent? They're supposed to be violent. There's nothing in the Constitution. This is literally what he said. There's nothing in the Constitution that says it has to be peaceful. Meanwhile, the first words that it says is peacefully protest. So that was him rewriting the Constitution. So you have all of this, and I mean, I could go on and on. Then you had Julius Caesar. Then you had the mock play where they had all the senators and they had Trump as Julius Caesar. Where they unalived them in a play.
Now let me respond by saying this. Let me respond by
on a level never seen before against the sitting president.
Okay, let me interrupt by saying this. The overwhelming majority of the people you talked about are citizens that likely vote Democrat. I'm not going to take that away from you, but most of them are not. Other than Maxine Waters and Kamala Harris,
Chris Cuomo.
Chris Cuomo, you didn't say, you said Chris Cuomo, the guy from CNN that's now on News Nation. Now, his brother, Andrew Cuomo, who was the governor of New York, you're not talking about him. You're talking about Chris. Chris is a citizen that works on TV.
This is you see, you're just putting it on a politician, one politician who literally said peacefully go, and you're making it like that was the worst thing in the world. I never heard one of these people say peacefully in anything. They said they literally took the word peaceful out of protest and put violence in instead.
Well,
so there's a big difference here. What we're saying, and you're talking about one person who gave a speech at a thing, and he literally said peacefully.
Well, let me say something. Okay, here's the point I'm making. Here's why I'm making a distinction. I gave you credit for Maxine Waters and Kamala Harris if they said what you said, because they're politicians, and I know Maxine Waters did say something like that, so I agree with that 100%. Kamala Harris, that what you said on her, I have not heard. But when you start talking about Kathy Griffith and Chris Cuomo on TV, Sean Hannity has said a bunch, and Tucker Carlson is one even worse. So I'm not going to go with what some type of commentator on television said. That's different. Just because they happen to vote liberal, you can't put them in the same category.
All right, so hold on. So would you mind? Would it be different to you if let's just use Kid Rock took a severed head of Barack Obama and was standing there with a severed head? Would that bother you at all?
Wait, he took a machine gun and shot up a transgender person on a can of beer.
He shot up a bunch of bud cans.
Okay, what's the difference? What would be the difference if you held my severed head up, or if you put it on a piece of paper and shot it?
The President Obama's. Would that bother you? I'm saying.
Yeah, but I wouldn't blame it on Trump. I mean, that's the guy who did it.
I'm not saying to blame it on Trump. I'm saying, would that affect you in any way?
Yeah, I wouldn't like it.
Right. So when they're doing these things, what are they doing? They're doing it because they know people are not going to like it. That's a spit in the face to everybody who supported this man, and then to have a severed head of a United States president. That's insane.
So going with insanity and going was disrespectful to a president. How do you feel when Trump said Obama was born in Kenya?
Well, he got that from Hillary Clinton.
That ain't what listen. Trump all of a sudden now trusts Hillary Clinton. When did that happen?
I'm just saying that was the Hillary Clinton talking point. So
yeah, but
Obama and Trump were actually going back at each other, back and forth. That's between two men. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Obama was not going back and forth with Trump.
Oh, of course they were. Obama did the whole roast on Trump when he did that.
You go to a roast where the very term roast means they're going to make fun of you, and then you leave that and you go personal?
Trump was just in the audience. He made it personal.
You're at a roast. It's like going to a comedy show and saying...
roast on Trump. Trump wasn't the man there to be roasted.
Have you ever been to a comedy show?
Of course.
You think some of the, have you ever seen a member of the comedy show that was just there to watch the show and the comedian started making jokes about them? They're not there to get roasted. That's what happens.
I'm just saying that they both of them took it. The two of them had something. Obviously, they're two grown men. They both had it in for each other. They didn't.
No,
like
they
each other,
didn't.
obviously.
No, you went to a roast. You went to a comedy event. Somebody made jokes on you while you were in the audience. If I go see Kevin Hart and he makes, I don't go around the country attacking Kevin Hart for what happened at a comedy show.
If I was somebody in an audience and somebody attacked me, I might want to get them back in.
At a comedy show, you would take what happened at a comedy show personal.
Just because you're at a comedy show, it might not be so funny. That's why they throw tomatoes at people.
What is this, Joe Pesci and Goodfellas? You think I'm funny? What the hell?
The point is this, that if you're talking about why would people be afraid of Trump, I'm saying that they shouldn't be afraid of Trump. If people want to be afraid of Trump, I'm looking at what's going on right now. People should be afraid. I'm going to tell you where you should be afraid, because I live in New York City. Okay?
Sure.
Now, in New York City, what happened? Let's just go back to the to 2020 when we had the virus. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say, and I don't want to get you shut down, so I'm going to try to be a little.
Okay, I get it.
I'll try to speak in code. So anyway, when we had that, what I was afraid of? I was first of all told that if I didn't do what they wanted me to do, I couldn't eat, I couldn't travel, I would lose my job.
What do you couldn't eat? Wait. If you don't get vaccinated, you can't eat. Who told you that?
They wouldn't let you in the restaurants. They literally built these outdoor things for people that they segregated us. They literally put people who weren't. I've lived through it. I see them. They're still here on the streets. I'll never eat in one of those again. I walk around and say, that's the segregation tent. They literally built them in the wintertime. People would literally be sitting there while everybody else is sitting inside eating in a nice warm.
Do you not favor a restaurant owner being able to make their own decisions?
It wasn't the restaurant owner making that decision, because they would be fined if they didn't obey, if they didn't do it. So if you got caught in there, if they got caught, the government would fine them. So even though everybody says it was a private company, it wasn't a private company. They were being fined if they didn't do it.
States' rights?
I said, yeah, you could have states' rights. I mean, that was completely unconstitutional, but you can have states' rights. But I said, that's who you should be afraid of, the states that were run by Democrats. And yes, they are states' rights.
Yeah.
The Democrats are the people that we should fear. They are the ones that took away all of our rights. I've never seen anything like it. Until this day, they're doing it again here in New York.
Well, you do realize even Trump said you should get vaccinated, though.
He could say it. I don't care if you say it, but don't mandate it, and don't tell me I can't do this if I don't do it. Everybody should. You can have your opinion.
Well, you're not, but I think here's my point. I do agree with you that some people went overboard and made it sound like if you don't get vaccinated, you're going to turn into a Gila monster. However, I disagree that you can't eat, you can't do all this stuff. There are tons of Americans right now as we speak that has never been vaccinated. They still own their homes. They can still work and earn a living. Nobody was going to come into your house like Gestapo, hold you down and stick a needle in your head. If you don't want to get vaccinated, you didn't have to.
But that's not true. I know tons of people that lost their jobs because they didn't want to.
Okay, then go work somewhere else. You don't have to work there.
Listen, if you're working a job, and then all of a sudden they're like, if you don't do this, we're going to get rid of you. I mean, how does that even makes sense to anybody? That's like,
it's no different. It's no different than telling a woman, if you don't like the anti-abortion law, just move to another state. We didn't ban it. Just go somewhere. If you don't want to get vaccinated, go somewhere else that allows you to eat. Florida would have no problem with you eating during the pandemic.
And I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is this is what they did, which they shouldn't have did in the first place. Listen, having an abortion, that's what?
That
has nothing to do with. That's completely different than what we're talking about. And I can give you a couple of reasons why. The first reason why is when they say it's my body, my choice. The baby is something you're holding. It's not your body. It's not part of your body. It's a part of.
So can she just take it out? Okay, she's 2 weeks pregnant. It's not part of your body. It's something you hold it. Well, then take it out.
I don't want to go there because I
okay.
I actually have a different opinion on this.
Okay.
I think both sides are wrong on this. I'm more in the middle on this.
All right.
So it's just like to make that argument, it's like a little bit weird for me because I'm more on I don't know if I'm on your side completely, but I think that 2 weeks, like you said, that to me, that's not a baby at that point. But whatever. That's these.
So you would be in favor of termination up to a certain point.
I mean, I think that there's a point where you can't terminate. I think the argument should be, when is it a baby? That's really what the argument is. Now, the two arguments are this. People on the right think it's a baby at conception. People on the left think it's not a baby until it's 2 years old. So, so I mean, we have to have some kind of, so we got to meet in the middle somewhere and make it make sense.
All right, I got to get out of here. You crazy, now. You sound worse than Ron DeSantis, but it's always good to talk to you. Come on back through again, man.
Man, you're the best, brother. Happy New Year to you and your family.
Absolute.
We'll do it again soon.
Feeling this mutual. And by the way, because I don't see you in the box, I'm going to ask that you go ahead and drop it because I can't do it, but I do appreciate you coming on.
No problem.
2 weeks. All right, looking in the comments. It's not a baby. That was funny. All right, looking in the comments. Yeah, progressives want to abort 2-year-olds. Shaking my head. Yeah. Listen, he was being sarcastic. He didn't mean it to, but Ron DeSantis has said that liberals are in favor of literally taking a child home, 30-day trial period, so to speak, 30 days, and then bringing it back. I don't want this one. Ron DeSantis has actually said that. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We don't, what did I say? We don't hear him. We fear him, okay? We don't fear him. We fear him wanting to be a dictator because we already know he's a traitor, says Bumlegal. Traitor to who? You talking about Trump? What has Trump did to lead you to believe he's a traitor? Because generally when you're a traitor, that means you're no longer operating for this entity, but rather another faction. So if Trump is a traitor, who is he working? You said he's a spy, or he's working for a foreign government? I mean, I don't get that. It's actually not ridiculous. California would do it. My 3 kids, it is ridiculous. And California is one of the biggest states in the country. I mean, probably right after Texas, Alaska, Texas, probably California comes right after that, population-wise and things like that. If California, which has been liberal for quite a while, we've had 8 years of Obama, 4 years of Biden, Bush obviously, Bush wasn't in it. Yeah, Trump was in the middle. All right, so if that state is that liberal, it should be easy, very easy, in a state with millions of people to provide examples of these extremely late-term abortions that folks on the right are suggesting that happen. Because folks on the left can give you all kinds of examples of children that have been raped and things like that and have had to flee the state to terminate the child. So if the left is that outrageous, where they're letting you bring back children that are actually alive and abort them, provide the examples. You can't find one doctor that was willing to work with you and tell the truth. We got a host of members of the Trump administration willing to testify and suggest that Trump was committing crimes. Show me some of these abortion doctors that will come out and say, I didn't want to abort a 2-day-old child or something like that, and the state said I had to do this. You should be able to easily find some of them. I moved to Nevada, or I moved to Idaho because I didn't believe abortion should take place that late. Show some examples. Because I'm hearing this a lot from the right, but I'm not seeing any information to back that up. People say Trump stinks, says Miss TT. I am starting to hear that folks are suggesting that Trump has body odor. I haven't heard Trump pushing back on that one. Trump normally doesn't let too many negative comments about him last very long. I haven't heard him push back like that. And Mary says California's not like that. No, I don't personally believe California is allowing the abortion of children 9 months or even outside of the womb. I don't believe it, because I do believe that would be a strong point for the right to make. Just like the liberals are making these strong points about women that are facing, babies that are going to be stillborn and being forced to carry them. They're going to find every example like that and plaster it all over the television, because it helps the pro-choice movement. If the right had cases like that, where a mom was sitting on a rocking chair with a 3-day-old baby deciding whether she wanted to terminate it or not, they would put that on TV, because even liberals would sympathize with that. This kid is alive, crying and feeding, and you want to go, yeah. They don't have a single case like that on the news because they're not actually real. They would plaster that. That would go all over the damn place. That would be big news. They're not putting it on TV because they don't have an example of it. Looking in the comments, the California Valley is conservative. The cities are not. Yeah, but it's not hard to find a doctor or somebody that would think that that's ridiculous, who is taking a sworn oath to protect life, and you got an actual live baby in your hands, and you're being asked to terminate it. If that was real, you'd hear about it. Going to the box. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Got to take my subscriber there. My ball shits. Always appreciate those who do. Good evening. We're talking about the notion that folks fear President Trump. Happy New Year's to you and yours, by the way. Why do so many folks fear Trump?
Happy New Year's to you too. They fear Trump because they're sheep and they're believing everything that's being shoved down their throat. And with all due respect, I've seen you enable it today in this conversation.
Give me an example.
When you just told that last guest about Hillary, who started the birther movement on Obama, and then you said, now he believes Hillary. How many times have you said, but it's Republicans going after him? I mean, what, now Republicans are trustworthy? I thought Republicans were all evil.
Wait, I don't quite get what you're saying. I agree with you on one part. Hillary Clinton also is someone who said that, tried to make fun of Barack Obama being born in a different country or something like that. But Trump took that to a whole new level. We can go after Hillary Clinton and point that out as well. But the notion that Trump, he got it from Hillary Clinton as if somehow she's some type of, accurate source of information, like she was in Kenya. So, no, he saw that maybe it was gaining some favor by going after Obama and decided to jump on the bandwagon. He knew that wasn't true.
The point is you told him, now all of a sudden Hillary is credible, when you yourself have used the words that it's Republicans that are going after him, and my retort to that is, now they're credible?
No. Okay, so I get your point. So your point is that Trump is not the only person that suggested Barack Obama was born in Kenya. Okay, if you want to go with that, but I asked him, how do you feel? Because you're saying that you feel a certain kind of way about people making up things and going after Trump. And I asked him, well, how do you feel about Trump saying that Barack Obama was born in Kenya? Well, I ain't the only one that said it. Hillary Clinton said it too, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that Trump said it. Was Trump wrong in saying that?
Yeah, you're not going to find me on any birther movement podcast.
Okay, all right. Okay, if you want to point out Hillary Clinton, you can win that argument. I'm not. You're correct about that. That Hillary Clinton also did it too, but that doesn't absolve. Well, you robbed the bank first. I mean, you're wrong too. I mean, so pointing out that Trump went to all sorts of levels saying that Barack Obama was born in Kenya, but he wasn't the first, doesn't absolve Trump from doing it.
And to move us along, when you say, why do people fear Trump? It's more bullshit from the media because you're getting a 5-second soundbite. And, hey, both sides do it because about 95% of the country is too dumb to do any research, and they're going to vote based on 5-second soundbites. They know that, so they're just playing the cards that they need to. But when Trump said, I'll be dictator for a day, because you've done enough political analysis, that he was replying to Joe Biden, who said only dictators rule through executive order. And so that means when I go back in on day one, then I guess I'll be a dictator, undoing all of his executive orders that, just like Joe Biden undid all of his. That's just the game they play.
I don't think undoing the previous president's orders, the executive action orders, the ones you can't undo, because he couldn't undo, universal health care. John McCain prevented that. I don't think that's being a dictator. If you become president and you sign away to things that that's not, being a dictator is going above and beyond the Constitution. But
you know damn well that Joe Biden said only dictators rule through executive order. And that's what Trump was saying and retort to that, then I guess I'll be dictator for a day. Or
Here's where I disagree. Trump has also talked about suspending the Constitution. He said more than what Biden said against. He said a few other things that go above. I mean, when you talk about suspending the Constitution, another good example, after the Mandalay Bay mass killing, Trump was starting to talk about putting a ban on assault rifles. And he said on TV that maybe we should, in terms of mentally ill people, take away the guns and then have due process because he said it takes too long to take a mentally ill person to court and take their guns away. He said maybe we should take the guns away first and then give them due process. That's unconstitutional as well. He didn't get really hammered on it because the NRA got to him overnight, and the next day he changed his tune. But he said more than what you're talking about Biden.
Yeah, and both sides are willing to subvert the Constitution in their own interest. How many people on the left did you hear beating up Donald Trump over that? Exactly, because it's what they want. So don't give me that bullshit about, he's willing to subvert the Constitution. Both sides are willing to.
Okay, but you're not defending Trump. What you're presenting is both sides. Just like bringing up Hillary Clinton, you're not defending Trump. You're just saying the other side do it too.
I'll defend Trump right here. There's a lot of stuff coming out lately that is starting to look like January 6th was him defending the Constitution.
What has came out to lead you to say that?
So when you see all of this political, basically Gestapo-style tactics, to crush political opposition, and you see Democrats subverting the Constitution, all this bullshit with these bullshit 4 indictments, because it's turning out they're really all bullshit.
No, I gotta disagree with you.
When you see all of this going on, let's just hypothetically say that you are the president, and you know for sure, not a hunch, but you know for sure that the election is being stolen. Wouldn't you have a duty to uphold and defend the Constitution?
Absolutely.
Okay. And the more bullshit that you see Democrats playing right now, the more that you guys are making the case for him that he was defending.
No, here's where I disagree with you. Here's where I disagree with you. While I agree, if I thought the election was being stolen, I have a duty to uphold the Constitution. The part you left out is you have a duty also to prove that your thoughts are valid. This whole Dominion voting machine thing that he was on stage talking about, that has been proven false. And there's a whole bunch of other things that he said about the election that even his own attorney general and vice president are saying was false. I'm fine with defending the Constitution if the election is stolen, but you got to be able to prove what you were saying was true. It can't be, well, my crowd was bigger than yours, or you were in your basement. No, where is the actual evidence? There's too much stuff that Trump said happened in that election that has been proven false.
Fair enough. And there's both sides of these indictments aren't giving us all the information. Okay. For instance, right? The thing is, they know that 95% of the country is dumb enough to just listen on 5-second sound bites, right? When you look into these indictments and you realize, they're making this to be a way bigger thing than it actually is, or they're not telling people what things actually are, right? An example would be the FBI is charging him with destroying the videotapes at Mar-a-Lago, the security tapes at Mar-a-Lago. Yes,
all right. I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Did you know that those tapes weren't actually destroyed? They're charging him because there was a conversation about whether or not they could destroy them?
That I can't speak on. I didn't know that. I don't know. Okay. This stuff is so confidential. I don't know if they're telling us everything about it. And that's what's going to be the problem on whether we get a guilty or innocent verdict from Trump is we're never going to hear everything, the 100% of the truth about a case that involves classified material. There's always going to be things they're going to say we couldn't tell you.
Classified material. What the left has been led to believe is that Trump went and just threw all these documents in a wheelbarrow and stole them from the White House.
Well, let me once again, just like what I brought up in regards to the election, I brought up Attorney General Barr and Mike Pence. When it comes to the documents, his own lawyer is testifying that she told him, if you don't give this stuff back, you're committing a crime. Now, here's the problem. Whether you think Trump is guilty as hell or you think it's a witch hunt, there are too many members of his own camp that are continuing to testify this man was a criminal. These aren't liberals. These aren't anybody else but people he hired. Why are so many members of his inner circle continuing to say this guy was committing crimes?
There's a powerful machine going against him. And you know what? If you're part of an organization and the head honcho is getting accused of some bad shit and you're getting accused of some other shit, you're gonna jump ship.
Then where are all the Biden staffers and employees coming forward saying he was committing crimes? Biden is being accused of all kinds of shit too. Bill Clinton got accused of all kinds of shit. I didn't see nobody coming forward like that. I'm your own vice president. I didn't see Al Gore saying that Bill Clinton was guilty, or I didn't see Biden saying that Obama. I mean, I've never seen it to this level where your own staff is accusing you of crimes.
Yeah, but those were sitting presidents. You don't jump ship on a sitting president.
They jumped ship on Trump damn near the next day after January 6th. He was still a sitting president.
It was pretty much done at that point.
But he was still a president.
But you're talking about, did Al Gore jump ship from Bill Clinton during the Lewinsky scandal? Like, dude, even if it's just for appearances, you don't jump ship on a sitting president because it just looks bad for in the world's eyes.
So let me ask you, now that he's no longer a sitting president and people have jumped ship, do you think all of the folks suggesting Trump committed criminal acts, you think they're all lying?
I see, here's the thing. I have to reserve some of that until the facts come out. See, the problem I have is everybody's made all of their minds up, and you're not going to change, both on the right and the left, a lot of people's minds about what's really happened. But here's my thing, because they've been force-fed this bullshit for so many years now, right? And I'm not going to act like 6 months ago I did a deep dive into all this stuff, right? Okay, but I recently have. And do you know that the left has been force-fed this bullshit that he was basically wheelbarrowing documents out of the White House, right? That's what a lot of people on the left would believe. Would you concede that point?
You're saying that the left has been force-fed, that Ruby Freeman was wheelbarrowing votes out of, I mean, because you understand that both sides are doing this. I get your point that he was wheelbarrowing documents out of the White House. I don't. Let me respond to that. In responding to your question, I will tell you this. Even if Trump was wheelbarrowing, I don't think he was doing that, but I hear what you said about being force-fed. My response is, even if Trump was wheelbarrowing documents out of the White House, all he had to do was give them back. He would not have been charged. His charges are deriving from him fighting to keep the documents.
Right. No, that's only one of the charges. And his former lawyer, okay, so here's where I'm getting all this, right, is his former lawyer did a podcast with on the Sean Ryan show, and he's bringing out some stuff where I'm like, whoa, I didn't know all of this, and I encourage you to watch it, man. Now, what he's saying, okay, and again, I will concede, I'm not the fucking judge, jury, executioner. He could be lying too. But he's given me the most clearest, concise explanation of what's going on here. And did you know Carter signed into the National Records Act, right? No,
okay.
He signed that in, okay? Did you know that President Trump, and so all the documents in the White House, all these things will go to a facility that they will manage for the presidential library. Did you know Trump is the first one to not be given one of those facilities? So Nara had those documents taken to his house. They were supposed to be there.
Well, I'm just going to, I hear what you're saying, and I will say this, I'll repeat this, even if 100% of the stuff you're saying is true, when they ask for the documents back, you got to give them back. When they're telling you under subpoena, under law, you got to return them. At that point, when your own lawyer is telling you this subpoena is valid, you got to respond to it. It's a losing battle from that point.
Yeah, and he concedes that the obstruction charge is the one charge that he's going to have trouble.
All right, then we'll go with that.
Okay.
We'll go with that.
I won't. I'm not one of these freaking crazy MAGAs that are going to sit here, tooth and nail, die on a cross for this guy. Okay, but what I'm saying is we're being fed a lot of bullshit.
Well, what about in regards to being fed a load of bullshit? because we mentioned January 6th, when they're up there on stage telling people the Dominion voting machine switch votes to Biden, do you think that Rudolph Giuliani, Steve Bannon, Flynn, do you think they were feeding that crowd a load of bullshit?
I will concede when you're in that position, your words carry a lot of weight, and you should be able to cross your T's and dot your I's. I will concede that, absolutely.
Okay. So,
my question: how would you like Trump to have stopped January 6th? Right? Would you like him to tweet it out? Because I mean, they canceled it.
Should have never happened. I'm just going to be honest with you. Even though we have a First Amendment right to protest, the way it should have never happened. You should because all of these folks showed up, and some were peaceful. We know that, but some on the line talking about Mike Pence should lose his life on January 6th. We're talking only 2 months and 2 days after the November 4th election. There was no way in hell there was enough evidence to show that the 2,000 mules hadn't came out. There was no evidence at that point for them to act the way they did on January 6th. There was no evidence for Rudolph Giuliani, Steve Bannon, or even Trump to say all the stuff they did on that day. We know the Ruby Freeman thing has been a loss. We know Dominion voting machine. All of this stuff was being told to that audience. Was the reason why their votes didn't count. We know that audience at the behest of Flynn, Bannon, Giuliani, and Trump was fed a load of lies and then told, well, be peaceful about all of the lies we just told you. I mean, what do we expect to happen? January 6th should not have happened at all without some serious evidence and proof.
Oh, fair. You didn't see me at January 6th. Fair.
Thank God. We wouldn't be having this conversation. I'm all for, just like if Black Lives Matter, because we always revert to that. If Black Lives, and they have done this, had riots and protests, calling for bad things that happened to cops that acted in a justified manner. That's wrong. What those folks did on January 6th fed that audience a ton of lies about how the election was stolen, and them folks went ape shit because they thought it was true.
My main problem with January 6th is you're not going to see me defend anybody who assaulted a police officer, who physically went into the Capitol, did any property damage thing. You will not see me defend any of them. My problem is there's a lot of people on the left who think just because you were out on the sidewalk protesting, you're one and the same. That's my problem with the whole January 6th situation, right? Is there's a difference between exercising your First Amendment and there's a difference between violating other people's rights. So, you know what I mean? And trying to overthrow the government without proof.
But how do you feel about the absolute fact that the guys I just named, Bannon, Giuliani, Flynn, and Trump, how do you feel about the fact that they told them folks a lot of lies on January 6th? Proven lies. Certainly the Dominion voting machine, we know that is a lie. Ruby Freeman, things that have went to court where the other side has had time to present their case, has been proven that they lied to those people. How do you feel knowing that Trump, Giuliani, Bannon, and all them folks lied to them?
Well, you're going to see me make the comparison to when somebody gets unalived by a police officer and they were quote unquote unarmed, right? Mm-hmm. Hey, you don't hold court on the streets. And so if Judge Dredd shows up, don't get mad, right? Okay. And that's the same way I feel about them. They should have used the court process to look into the election rather than January 6th. I will 100% concede that. So put them on trial for that.
Trump too?
Yeah, but what exactly is Giuliani and Bannon and Trump charged with in relation to January 6th? Right?
Yeah, that's a good question. I can't answer that. If I come and tell you that your wife cheated on you and you decide to beat the hell out of your wife or do something, and I know I'm lying when I tell. I don't know if I can be charged with anything, but I know I'm doing something to upset you that is completely fabricated. I don't know if they can be charged with anything, but that is something to ask. Do you want a person back in office that is capable of doing that?
No, they've already ruled on this. I think it was back in the 20s, right? And that's why the example is always used of you can't yell fire in a movie theater unless there's a fire. And then if people get trampled and so on and so forth, you would be responsible for that. So your First Amendment is not unlimited, right? They ruled that 100 years ago.
Then how would Trump not be accountable? I mean, we know he lied as well. I mean, the whole Ruby Freeman thing suggesting they're passing drives, and I mean, Trump was in on that. The same thing with Dominion. Trump was in on those lies. I mean, then how does he not fall victim to the same charges?
I'm saying charge him with it.
Oh.
And take it to trial. And then we can have a ruling rather than our own personal fucking opinions for over 3 years, man.
So I agree with you. Let the evidence come out. But based on what you're saying, the fact that Jack Smith is charging him with insurrection is not a witch hunt. It's something that should be litigated.
No. Jack Smith's document case is where you're going to see my...
Right, but what about the insurrection charge? I get the documents case, but what about the insurrection charge? Is that legitimate charge to make?
Yeah, it's not legitimate to basically convict him in the eye of public opinion.
Okay.
Because all of this BS keeps coming out that is outside of court. How are you even going to have an unbiased jury at this point for any of these cases?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't.
Is being convicted in the courtroom of public opinion.
How do you charge? But how do you charge a president of the United States without having people side and take their... I mean, everybody knows who Trump is. The same thing would happen if you charge Biden with Hunter Biden's mess. I mean, people are going to have an opinion. There's no way to do that at that level without everybody having an opinion already.
Yeah, fair enough. And it's not going to... I'm saying when you look at regular people who would get charged with stuff, you know, the things are going to be sealed. You're not going to have people risking their careers to leak things out and stuff like that. I'm just saying a lot of stuff has been leaked out that you can't tell what's right and wrong. We've all made our own opinions, and that's just, it's gross to me, you know. Hold the trial. We'll accept the verdict, right? If he wants to appeal it, or you know, whatever side wants to appeal it, that's one thing. But this thing where we're convicting him on TikTok is wrong.
All right, fair enough. But like I said, you know the citizens are going to either exonerate or convict you. Just hell, they was doing that with O.J. Simpson. I mean, you're a well-known person like Trump. You got a lot of fans and a lot of haters. There is no way you're not going to have him being convicted or exonerated in public opinion. It's not like he's a nobody. He's probably the most well-known American at this point. But you do agree that he should be charged. You don't think that him being charged with insurrection is a witch hunt. You don't like us talking about it on social media and making our minds up. I get it, but you are admitting that charging him with insurrection is not a witch hunt. It should go to court according to you and let the people decide.
No. I think not insurrection, but your words carry weight, right? So the same as yelling fire in a movie theater, you're responsible for everybody gets trampled, right? So I'm not saying he engaged in insurrection.
But he potentially committed a crime that day. He didn't.
His words could be the cause of the violence at the Capitol, yes. Okay.
So he didn't, not necessarily insurrection, but you do believe he potentially committed a crime there that day?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
All right. I think we're making progress. I think that does go above at least claiming that everything that he's facing is a witch hunt. You're saying there's a possibility, at least get a man his day in court, but there is a possibility he committed a crime. Do you see someone, regardless of how it would come in court, we now know the Dominion voting machine stuff, the Ruby, we know some actual lies were told. How do you feel if he was to become president again? Do you think he's capable of doing that kind of stuff again? Making up stuff on people that didn't deserve it?
Well, I mean, I can't speak on the Ruby Freeman thing. I think just saying some shit about somebody that's part of your court proceedings, you know, it's kind of like with John McCain, right? I'm a combat vet, man. I don't like what he said about John McCain, but I do understand that during political debates, everything's on the table except for family, you know, and so it's kind of one of those things like I don't like what you said, but I understand why some shit's gonna come out of your mouth, right?
Okay.
And that's where I look at the Ruby Friedman thing, right? Dominion voting, man. I would like to see us actually have our day in court as the American people on what's going on with that, because are you telling me it's 100% kosher?
They said the machines were switching. Wait, hold on. Hang on. They said the machines were switching votes to Biden. You got folks with infinite legal protections like Fox News settling out of court because they knew if it actually did what you're saying, where you actually had a day in court, they were going to lose even bigger. They decided to come out and admit it to save the bleeding. So what more do you want to hear?
You know that you could be right and still settle. Tim,
for $750 million?
Hey, I'm not gonna say that's chump change to them, but when you're looking at $750 million versus $10 billion, $750 million is chump change. Now, Tim, if you had some money and a woman accused you of SA and you know you didn't do it, but you could get her to go the hell away, kind of like Stormy Daniels, and it was going to be cheaper.
Wait a minute! You said you think Stormy Daniels? Because I
don't think you would sleep with her. I think you're way above that, man.
Stormy Daniels? Yeah. When Trump, listen, I wouldn't have looked her up on Pornhub. I saw her material back in the day when she allegedly slept with Trump. She was hot back then. I mean, she's old now.
But today. Nah, man.
Yeah. She wasn't, listen, anybody with Trump's money, and Trump has access to it, certainly back then he had access to infinite wealth. He ain't sleeping with no ugly chicks. I mean, listen, say what you want about Stormy Daniels. I guarantee she was nice looking back then because Trump had access to anybody, which is also why I totally disagree with the argument that grab her by the you-know-what was locker room talk. If I'm worth billions of dollars, Trump claimed when he ran in 2015, he was worth 10 or 15 billion bucks. If I'm worth 15 billion bucks, I'm not telling lies on my dick. If I tell you I had 30 women naked in a pool, damn it, they were there. You got infinite wealth. You got your own TV show. You can have everything you're saying you had. I don't believe you need to lie on your dick when you're worth billions of dollars. That was not locker room talk.
And in the great words of Dave Chappelle, you know, when he was talking about the Lewinsky and Bill Clinton thing, and Dave Chappelle said, you know, every woman in here got one that they regret, right? And I bet you was the president. I bet it's Kenny from Payless Shoes, right? Hey, how many people have been grabbed by the hoo-ha by freaking Kenny from Payless Shoes, right?
I don't know, but I'm just simply saying I don't believe the man has to make up cocktails. I don't believe that. I mean, billions of, you've had, I mean, the guy frequented the Playboy Mansion, hanging around Hugh Hefner. You had access to the finest women. You telling me you making up stories? It makes no sense.
But going back to what I was saying, right? You could be innocent of something, but pay somebody off to just go the hell away.
True,
right?
True. I believe that. I agree with that.
I feel that that's where the Fox News Dominion thing is, right? Because you also don't give out $750 billion or $750 million, right? When you know that you're going to win in court, right? Because you could still be held liable for X amount of damages. You know what I mean? So
I get your point, but here's where I got to push back. I get your point. A lot of celebrities settle just to make shit go away. Puff Daddy just did it with a woman accusing him. I would get your point if there was not for Mike Lindell, the My Pillow guy, and Rudolph Giuliani. They have went completely broke. It's a difference between having a ridiculous amount of money and paying a few bucks to make something go away. If Mike Lindell or Rudolph Giuliani could have made that Dominion voting stuff go away, they would have. They went broke. So they clearly were actually not trying to settle to get folks to go away. They lost, and they lost on that same suit. I don't think Fox News, even with all of their infinite wealth, would have settled for $750 million on something they felt they didn't do. I think they even realized, because Tucker Carlson, their cash cow, had to be sacrificed. I don't think that they were settling to make something go away. I think they were settling because they knew we're going to actually pay even more if we actually go to put this before a jury. They didn't have a case.
Yeah, well, defamation cases don't go in, are you guilty or not guilty of defamation? They measure the amount of damage. And if you think that, you know, your damage would be worth more than $750 million, even if you thought you were in the right, but that's how they were likely to rule, right? Because you know the Dominion.
So I'm hearing you. I just want to make sure I get clarity. You really believe that the Dominion case is more likely than not, and they just settled because they knew they were having a losing hand or something? Like, you really believe there's some validity to the Dominion voting machine switching votes from Trump to Biden?
I think you will feel me on this, and you'll agree. Because first of all, you know, we've all seen elections where it had to go to hand, and then they see that it's clearly marked, but it's not punched all the way through, so they toss it, stuff like that. That's before Trump or any of that. But you're also not going to get someone like me from Arizona who, you know, it takes us fucking 2 months to get our shit counted to say, I have full faith in the election system.
Having faith in the election system or being skeptical of the election system is a big difference than saying Trump won in a landslide. You can show me things like on 2000 Mules that you think look shady or doesn't look right. That's a big difference than saying Trump won by a landslide. That's where Trump took it. He didn't say, well, this didn't look right, or we need to redo that. You know, he said, I won by a landslide. I don't see the evidence to that.
And I didn't watch 2000 Mules, man. I felt like that'd be 2 hours of my life I'd never get back. You know, I know you had to for your show here, right? But if it wasn't for your show, you weren't going to watch that either, man.
I don't know, I might have, but I got to move it on. Appreciate that. I watched it 6 times, by the way. Appreciate you coming on, though.
Hey, thanks, man. Have a great night. Happy New Year.
You too, man. You too. All right, looking in the comments, vote, what did I say? Vote blue, everyone. Well, I don't think everyone's going to do it, but we'll see what happens. Trump lost, says Cleo. That's what everybody says in terms of those who actually have access to the voting rolls and the election officials. They also say the same thing. Clinton, to this day, says the election was stolen from her. Hutch, that is true. But she didn't show up on Inauguration Day with a crowd full of people and start telling them machines were switching. Look, it's okay if you're Stacey Abrams, Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, you want to say the election was stolen. But then when you start showing up, holding rallies all over the country, because Trump is still saying the election was stolen from him, I don't see it being anywhere near the same level as Hillary Clinton. But Hillary Clinton, if she don't have evidence, she's equally as wrong. She is equally as wrong. I'm not defending Hillary Clinton at all. But Hillary Clinton did concede the election. Al Gore did concede the election. That also is a difference, is that Trump is still saying, I won by a landslide, even though all of his evidence slowly but surely is falling apart. There's not more and more evidence coming out to show he won. It's going the other way. With Ruby Freeman just winning a ton of money, it's actually going the other way. Looking in the comments, Hillary Clinton was sued by Trump and she lost. Hillary Clinton lost a lawsuit to Trump for what? The Russian, what are you saying? I'm saying the election was stolen? I've never heard that. Hillary Clinton lost a lawsuit to Trump. Has anybody else heard that? I see in the comments, Mary says source. Yeah, I have never heard that. They believe rally size equals election wins, FSU. 100% that folks believe Trump won based on visuals. There was more support, more Trump flags, bigger rallies. That equals Trump win. No, it doesn't. Going back to the box. Olu Tomari. I know I'm messing that up, but welcome to the program. Omu, if I'm getting that correct. Happy New Year's to you.
Hey, brother.
Hey, good to have you on. So what do you think? Do you see Trump regaining the reins, regaining power come later this year?
I don't see him winning, but we gotta be. The only thing I see is that I know I like your program because you allow all these all your Trumpy guys to come in and you talk nice to them, but do not be fooled. I don't buy what you see. We have a couple of categories of MAGAs. Those are the like the last guy that went. He's they're all veterans and they speak well and they sound reasonable. Do not be fooled. And because that's what happened in 2016. All these folks said they won't vote for Trump. They end up voting for him. right? He had more women, white women, who voted for Trump in 2016. That took him over the top.
When you say don't be fooled, what do you mean? You mean Trump is more likely to win? There's going to be more votes for him than I think?
No, I don't think so. I think you cannot unsee what you've already seen. The problem with Trump is that even if you want to ignore it, it's too obvious. It's right in your face. Yeah, does he look like as if he's winning? Because sometimes the minority are louder, right?
What's right in my face about Trump? Let's say Trump won again. What do you think America would be like? I mean, did you not favor his economy? I mean, did you think the country...
It's going to be a disaster, and I'll tell you why. You remember when he was in office, he fired both Vindman brothers, right? He told them to, the Vindman, Connor Vindman, the guy who actually showed him about the Ukraine phone call with...
Okay, all right. The perfect phone call. What he called the perfect phone call.
Yeah. And you see, and if you look at his project 2025, right? He go look at all that manifesto that he's been putting out there. Do not be fooled, guys. Don't think because he's just talking, he just look at talk. That's nonsense. If you can say you want to fire everybody who are civil servants in the government and replace them with MAGA folks.
Oh,
right.
That sounds like dictator stuff.
Yeah, it's in this thing on page 2025. Guys, go check that out.
You're talking about so you believe Project 2025 is something they're really trying to do?
At least they will try it. Don't expect they will not. Because you see, one thing you have to understand with Trump is that Trump has now tasted the power of the presidency. When he first came, it was kind of a little naive, right? He didn't know what to do. Now, he kind of knows the ropes a little bit, right? And the worst thing you can give to a president is somebody who is ignorant. Because when you give power to an ignorant person, what do? They're going to end up destroying it. Everybody's going to keep on saying, and America like this thing. We like labels. We like talking about a lot of nonsense. But we really don't go to the back about what we believe. And another thing I want to say, I hate this both side arguments that I've been hearing for the last 5 minutes.
You're going to always hear that. Yeah, I can't bring up anything where somebody said the other side.
The guy's a criminal. He told you he's a criminal. He showed you who he was. But you say, that's how the liberals... Are there things I do on the Democrat side I don't like? Absolutely. Are there things I don't like on the Republican side? But I was a Republican before. But this is not your grandfather's Republican.
When you say the guy's a criminal, though, give me a crime. You suggested that Trump committed crimes, I'm assuming. What crime did Trump commit?
I've told you, I remember I told you in my last slide, I have family friends in New York. I used to live in New Jersey, right? And now I live in Minnesota. I have family friends who have gone bankrupt when they had his casino in the Atlantic City in New Jersey. Those guys went to go borrow money, believing he's going to get paid. They had to file bankruptcy because they couldn't pay for the court thing. And it's not more than one person. We know him in New York, right? All this nonsense, everybody down in everybody seeing him around the nation. They see him on The Apprentice. They see him on all that nonsense. Folks in New York who are really New Yorkers know Trump. That's why Trump is a chameleon. He goes where it's going to happen. That's why when you remember, that's why you see, there's other people on the creators on TikTok. Oh yeah, he was in the hip hop community. Yeah, he will be anything you want him to be.
Wow.
If you're Snoop and you know in the popular side, Trump will become that. It's the same way he courted the evangelicals. They didn't want him in the beginning. But you know what? He gave everything he wanted. I'm going to give you abortion. I'm going to put 3 judges on the Supreme Court. He did everything they wanted. He's a chameleon. He's a smart politician.
But then I got to push back and ask you, because you're basically saying Trump is a chameleon. He'll do whatever he needs to do to get votes. A lot of folks will suggest all politicians are like that.
I agree to a certain extent, but he has no tact about his, right? I'm not going to say politicians, no, on both sides they are, but I don't even like using that both side argument. When it comes to Trump, there's not a both side argument. Please, this is not, you can, any other politician, because, oh yeah, maybe, just, yeah, okay, it's not kind, Trump is not a kind of. argument.
But are we snowflakes? Does what somebody say, if the guy is running the country properly, and some folks believe he is, is the insults enough to stop you from voting for him? If the economy was good, if we didn't have as many global issues, $2 gas, these are things people give Trump credit for. If you could get a smooth flowing America, could you overlook the insults and the things that are coming out of his mouth?
I don't see. You see, how you do something is how you do everything. When you look at Trump, and you say to him that, he's running the country mostly, he's good. They're good messengers. They have a great way of messaging what they didn't do, right? And they exaggerate little they do, right? So when we start giving them the facts, I've been on many lives. I just listen in, and I've heard people say, Trump is the person because he did it to a black woman. I hear this. No, the kind of nonsense you hear.
I've heard it. Yeah, I've been told that too.
So it's not really. It's an insult for somebody who's intellectual to hear this.
Well, let's go with that. In regards to suggesting Trump dated a black woman, do you personally think Trump is racist?
I think he's an opportunist. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
He plays whatever fence that works for him. If you're a black woman and he knows hanging with you will make him where he needs to be, he will change for you. What I'm telling you.
Yeah, but what politician wouldn't do that?
No, he is. Sometimes you do something with tact. He has no shame at all. He can say something. He can wake up in the morning and say, the sky is blue. Right? Until next morning, somebody convince him that the sky is red and they will give him $10 billion, they will change for that person.
Well, shit, if I could get $10 billion, I would tell you the sky is red as well. I want to give you one comment out. I wanted you to tackle this comment in this comment section before I move it on. Susie Q says, Donald J. Trump is the worst of the worst. Nothing to lose now. It will be a reign of terror if he gets reelected. Do you see it being that bad?
I agree, and I tell you why I'm going to agree. I'm going to tell you why I agree. Do not be. You see, most of the people who are dictators were funny people. People love them. There was something. It's like dating. I've always said it before in my last life. It's like dating a dangerous boyfriend, but it's intriguing. It's fun, right?
All right, you guys are scared. By the way, folks, tap the screen. I haven't been asking that at all, but I do appreciate you guys tap the screen. Get your boy likes, but I do appreciate that. It's almost 600.
So don't be fooled, right? You see, something that's boring is steady. Boring is predictable. Boring has strategy. But most people like fun, right?
Yeah.
Because you do a live right now, somebody talking on live, right? We get 1 million views. You talking about something that actually is intellectual, you get 2 views.
You're right about that. Negativity, things like that, yeah.
For Trump, this both side argument, what scares me the most is a lot of people who have the both side argument are the most dangerous people in this country. And I'll tell you why. They're going to come on your life, they're going to explain to you, like there's a lady that came on to you, I didn't like what Trump did, I'm not really fully into him, all that thing. It's like you checking out a girl out, you say you really don't like her, but you're checking her out. That's the same attitude. Yeah. Do not be fooled, right? And also, if you lean in Biden at all, or Democrat at all, do not be fooled by saying, they will not come out. We need to go overdrive for this. If we slack off a little bit, right? All what they need to do is in the edges. It don't have to be too much. Yeah. Last election, 2020, 2016, was 100,000 votes across 5 states.
You're scaring the shit out of me. You're scaring me, man, but I do got to move it on, Olu. Wow. Yeah. You're scaring me, man. Hey.
No, you gotta be scared so people should get off their asses and do some shit. There's no point we sitting there and saying, no. Go to work, please.
Well stated. Happy New Year. Thank you for coming in. All right, and I think I cut him a bit quick, but Olu, appreciate you coming on, man. Happy New Year's to you and yours. The election was the biggest sting operation in American history. Snowbird, sting operation. Perpetrated by who? Because at the end of the day, November 2020, Trump was in control of the federal government. So are you saying that the feds, Department of Justice, CIA, who perpetrated a sting, largest sting in American history? Never heard that. Guy has been watching too much Rachel Maddow. Browns backer, happy New Year's to you. I always love to see Browns backer in the comments. I don't know if Rachel Maddow. I'll leave it at that. Kim says, what are we telling the world if we put in a criminal as president? We just can't. Wow, powerful shit. We have had criminals in the White House before. I mean, listen, we could talk about what President Trump got involved in, talk about January 6th. I would submit to you there's probably far more countries around the world that view George W. Bush in the Iraq War as far more criminal than anything Trump did. Because it's a difference when America is having an internal problem versus wrongfully attacking another nation, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people. So my guess is the world probably has a bigger problem with George W. Bush than Donald Trump. If you live in Turkey, you don't give a shit about the Capitol building. They don't care nothing about what happened on January 6th. But a 20-year war in the Middle East, that means something to them. So my guess is George W. Bush is the criminal we put in that they would hold us accountable for more than Trump. Looking, I see Kim says fair. Yeah, I do believe they would see that. The left, oh my God, Snowbird. Snowbird says the left did January 6th. Really? Then that asks a simple question. Why are there so few folks on the right that were present on January 6th that are not saying that? We got hundreds of people that have been incarcerated. You got all of the Republican senators, Republican Congress that were present there that day. None of them are saying that that was perpetrated by the left. And I see in the comments on YouTube, Cheeky Chop says, back to the box. Am I bloviating too much? All right, going back to the box. PT. Cheeky Chops, always good to see you. Happy New Year to you, by the way, on YouTube. PT, good evening.
Tim, what's going on? Happy New Year, bud.
Hey, good. It's good to have you on, man. Happy New Year to you and yours. Talking about a large portion of America apparently fears Trump. Why is that?
Fears Trump. So are you talking about Democrats, or are you talking about people that are supporting him that don't have the balls to go against him, or what?
Both. There's four entities in this country: progressives, Democrats, traditional Republicans, and MAGA. Other than, well, even MAGA is saying people fear Trump because he's going to drain the swamp and name names. Traditional Republicans are suggesting that many members of MAGA are not telling the truth on Trump because they fear he's going to destroy their political careers or they'll receive death threats. And obviously the liberals and progressives think that Trump is a threat to democracy. So out of all four groups I just named, they're all claiming people fear Trump for various reasons.
Well, look what he does to people that go against him. Even if you're a Republican politician, if you say something against him, he attacks you, right? So that's why you have all these Republicans that are kissing his ass now. People like Nikki Haley that won't come out and say something against him because she knows she'll lose that voter base that she's trying to get, right? But also look at people like these judges and them who he's releasing their names and their addresses and all this stuff because he knows that the part of his group that's whacked the wacky ones are going to go after some of these people. The lady from Maine that wanted to remove.
Yeah, she's getting death threats. And why is that? That anybody that's critical of Trump starts complaining? Because all of the January 6th folks, all Republicans mostly, are all saying the same thing, that they're all receiving death threats. Why is that?
Because he is a powerful man, like it or not, money and wealth and power, it will get you what you want, right? He's getting what he wants. When he releases those people's names and where they live and all that, he knows damn well that his crowd his followers are gonna go after those people, and that's exactly what's happening. Releasing the names of jurors, that one judge in that one case, his assistant, like she's being attacked. So he directly goes after all these people. And look, he's the one that said that only the mob takes the fifth, right? And he's the one that took the fifth 400 and something times. So if there's anyone that's following a mob style tactics against the people that go against them, it's him. It couldn't be more obvious, in my opinion.
So you would agree, K in the comments states Trump is a danger to minorities, women, etc. He is a danger in general. Do you agree with that statement?
I do to a certain degree. I mean, we were just talking a minute ago about if he gets back in office, is it going to be a torched earth thing? And one of the other people that messaged said that, and I agree. If he gets in there, he's going to spend the last 4 years that he has in office destroying everyone and anyone that's gone against him since he lost that election in 2020. And I think he's probably getting his group of people together that he's going to want to put in office that are going to do exactly what he tells them.
So you believe he will be on a mission of revenge?
He's come right out and said it, really. He's even said, I'm going to be a dictator on the first day. And you can say he was just joking or whatever, but if you don't we got to stop making excuses for him. Now, you got to, not the last caller, but the one before that, he at least was saying, okay, if he's guilty, then he should be punished. He was kind of in the middle, that one person you talked to, right? He said, I don't like Trump, whatever, if he's guilty, he should be punished. But he was also questioning a lot of things, like questioning the Stormy Daniels, questioning the Dominion voted thing. Look, if it goes to court, the owner of Fox News come out and said, yup, we did it. We'll willingly pay the fine, right? Look, like you said, you can't get any more concrete than that. The only reason Fox didn't want that to go to court is because they knew they were going to get slammed.
Right, they were going to lose even more money.
Right, and that same principle of everybody making, the one thing Trump does better than anybody else is he spins. He can spin anything, and he knows that if you say something enough times, people will start to believe it. That's a proven fact. You can just keep saying it over and over, and then look at the people that they regurgitate the same thing that he says, no matter how ridiculous it is, because they just think he can do no wrong. So when you have someone like that and that knows they have that power and they use it in a negative way, that's why people are scared of him.
Yeah. And I see in the comments, because we're mentioning Dominion and Fox News settling. Anthony Hawkins in the comments says Fox and Dominion are owned by the same people. That makes sense to you?
No, I thought Rupert Murdoch.
Why would one group sue the other group for over $1 billion if they're owned by the same? That doesn't make sense. I mean, yeah, that doesn't make any sense at all. If Fox and Dominion were owned by the same people, then why would Fox be shaming Dominion like that, which could have destroyed the business? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I don't
think that's true. I mean, I don't have looked at it, not Googling it right now, but I don't think that's true.
If that was true, you would have known about that before you came on TikTok. You would hear that on the news wires. You'd hear MSNBC, and folks that don't like Fox News would have been bringing that up. I don't know why there's a lawsuit. These folks are owned by the same people. That would have been coming up in a lot of locations.
Yeah, well, I think people really need to think about what's going to happen if he gets back in office again, and he's obviously going to be the front runner for the Republicans unless he gets removed from all these ballots or whatever, but I don't think there's any question he's going to get in there. Everybody talks about weaponization. He weaponized the Justice Department and Bill Barr and those guys more than anybody ever has before. That's why pretty much all of his cabinet quit or got fired, because they knew what he was asking them or telling them to do was illegal or immoral. That's why you look, what other president can you think of that had more people quit than Donald Trump staff.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, there's nobody. And not only that, but that's what I keep bringing up, that it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help Trump's case for folks who are suggesting what is happening to him is a witch hunt. It doesn't help his case where there's so many folks that he hired and personally appointed that are testifying against him. That's not helping him out at all.
Yeah, I see someone else in the comments a while ago too talking about the economy. You got a lot of the talking points for the Republicans right now, where the MAGA followers, oh, look what Biden did to the economy. And somebody commented a few minutes ago and said the economy is doing great. The Democrats just don't know how to market it properly. And I agree with that person completely. You look at the stock market, highest it's ever been. Unemployment, lowest in 50 years, 14 million jobs. Like, Biden has so many great things to say about the economy in the last 3 or 4 years. It's unbelievable, but you don't hear them out there saying it, right? You hear everybody else saying the opposite, whatever. People believe it.
I don't disagree with you that whatever Biden believe he has accomplished, he is not getting the message out. They're doing a piss poor job at that. But I do got to move it on. Mike the Sailor, thank you. By the way, I wanted to thank Mike the Sailor for that. I can't remember what that was, but thank you very much. I did see that. I do got to move it on, but I agree with you that Joe Biden, Trump is holding rallies everywhere. So regardless if you like Trump or not, he is getting his message out. The Biden and Kamala Harris, the Biden company, they're not doing that. And that's leaving room for all of his detractors to get the message out for him, which is a message that he is a failure. So you and I agree on that, but I do appreciate you coming on. I'm going to ask that you drop because I don't see the box on there. So go ahead and drop, but Happy New Year's. Appreciate that.
Same to you, Tim. Have later.
You too. All right. Looking in the comments, presidents don't control the economy. They don't have the power people think they have. They do have some power to make differences in the economy. Otherwise, why the hell are they constantly bragging about it? Whether it's Obama bragged about the economy he had. Trump bragged about the economy. Then they're all lying about it. But they do have some power, whether it's making trade deals like Trump was talking about, going after Mexico for the huge tariff imbalance, or going after China. That wouldn't make a difference. That would certainly make a difference on the economy. If you can promote the feds to change the interest rates, that makes a difference on the economy. The president can make moves on the economy. Some would argue the pipeline in regards to fuel prices, energy independence, what the Biden administration is doing in regards to seeking alternative energy versus fossil fuel. That's going to make a difference on the price of gasoline, which affects all of the economy. Yeah, the president has more power than that. Looking in the comments, presidents are politicians. They'll take credit for anything they can. That is true. The Trill, I don't disagree with that. The Trill Progressive, like the name. The pipeline did not affect fuel prices. No, it did not. But perception is reality. Just like when Obama became president, the price of AR-15s skyrocketed under the assumption he was going to go after everybody's guns. He never did. Does he have responsibility for the price of AR-15s going? I think they tripled in price. The message that Obama was going to turn us into socialist Greece caused the price of gold to skyrocket. People started thinking the country was going to fail. Is that his fault? So it depends on how you look at it. But by Obama getting elected, purchasing firearms and purchasing gold shot up in value. So it depends on how you look at it. Going back to the box, I've seen Susie Q. What was it? I don't know what the hell just happened there, but we'll look at it again. No, he gave a bunch of guns to the cartel. You're talking about Fast and Furious. That was a big scandal that took place during Obama's term. By the way, regardless of Obama suggesting he gave guns to the cartel, they're using all American weapons down there. America is the chief customer for the cartel. Weapons, product, whether it's fentanyl, cocaine, smuggling children, you name it. The cartel would not exist without the American demand for what they're selling. We are the number one customer for the cartel. We're constantly talking about we need to secure the border. They're bringing fentanyl in. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're not forcing this stuff down the throats of Americans. There is a huge supply for all the illegal goods and services provided by the cartel. If we were not giving them such a demand, they wouldn't be operating. They're not selling this shit to China or some other country. They're selling it to us. So we can complain about the border, but it is the American demand for why it's happening. We don't want to talk about that. Looking in the comments, Texas is selling it to them. Yikes. Most of the cartel's firearms are American made. That's where they're getting the firearms from. They're getting them from us. Kind of reminds me of the old 1980s commercial for you guys that are old enough to remember. The child being caught with drug paraphernalia in his dresser drawer. Father discovers it. Who the hell taught you how to use this stuff? And the child responds, I learned it from watching you, Dad. We are the problem for this stuff. We just don't like to say it. Going back to the box. I don't know what's going on with the box. I don't think I can access it. People have 1 year to do the paperwork. Paperwork for what? They come across and get guns. They come across and get sold guns from runners. One way or another, the cartel's getting their firearms from Americans. Gun show loophole, you name it. If you are a legal gun owner, you obviously can purchase as many firearms as you want. Because of the way this country is set up, believing that the government cannot be trusted when the people equally cannot be trusted, but because we don't trust the government, we don't want to have to register our guns or tell them how many we got. So that leaves a huge loophole. If you can be contacted by the cartel, well, go out and buy 100 guns for me. They're not going to know how many you got. So if they come up missing, it is what it is. Plus, I'm taking them across the border anyway. So, yeah, that's our problem. We actually make this stuff possible. Looking in the comments, the Dems just gave, the Dems just gave to whisper in Biden's ear. Oh, the Democrats just got to whisper in Biden's ear and he'll do it. You think that is something unique to the Democrats? Earlier in the program, and I don't know what's going with the box, otherwise I'd bring folks up. I'm trying to figure that out. But earlier in the program, I mentioned right after the mass shooting in 2017, the Mandalay Bay, where the guy takes the window out of his hotel room and fires a bunch of rounds across the street, bunch of ARs in his room, hit about 500 people, killing about 50 of them. The next day, Trump was on television talking about a assault rifle ban. He did get rid of bump stocks because of that guy. And he was suggesting that if you have a mentally ill person, due process, taking them to court, takes too long. Trump got on television and stated flat out, sometimes it's better, maybe it's better to take the gun first and then give the guy due process, which is unconstitutional. The next day, because the NRA went apeshit, he even stated at that same time, sometimes you got to fight with the NRA. And he said, well, I'm not scared of them. The NRA went apeshit. 24 hours later, he had changed his tune completely. I'm only bringing this story up because someone suggested all you got to do is talk in Biden's ear and he'll do whatever. The NRA got to the ear of President Trump. The NRA made him change his tune. Trump has a history of suggesting that assault rifles be banned, limited magazines. He's said it more than once. He's said it over the years. He has a history of that. But The NRA has gotten in his ear. So understand it's not just the liberals. All politicians can be swayed if they think thousands, if not millions of voters are attached to it. Supreme Court may overturn the bump stock ban. Wow. Yikes. Why? Why do we, I know I lean left. For folks who don't know what bump stocks are, you put them on a rifle and it makes it bounce back and forth, allowing you to hit the trigger over and over again without squeezing it, essentially turning the firearm into an automatic. Literally removes any accuracy of the firearm because it's just firing rounds everywhere. Why would somebody think that we need that? That's going to the Supreme Court. How to turn a weapon with controlled fire into an automatic weapon with virtually no accuracy, where you can attach 30 rounds, 100-round drum, whatever. Why would somebody want that? Other than to completely commit absolute mayhem. I think Samuel L. Jackson once said, when you want to kill everybody on the motherfucking block, I think that was in Pulp Fiction. Why would you want that? Is it wrong? Is it really wrong to say that that is something that is a danger to society? Now, I see in the comments, Anthony Hawkins said, just saying I want one. I get it. I want a private plane, but I don't know how to fly a plane. You want me to fly that over Times Square on New Year's? I would love to see what Times Square looks like from the air. I want a private plane just so I can fly over. I don't see the purpose of that. That is ridiculous that will go to the Supreme Court. Anyhow, it is not even usable, says I can't Sawmill. Yeah, I agree. Now I will state in terms of accuracy with bump stocks, it's a very useful, efficient device for what the guy at Mandalay Bay did. You got a large crowd of concert goers all sitting out in the open, and you're across the street, and you want to hit as many of them as possible. A bump stock actually makes that job more efficient. It is an awesome tool, an awesome addition to having your tool case for doing that. That's where it does have value. But just for the regular citizen trying to defend his home, trying to go hunting, there is absolutely no reason to need that. That should be something you have no desire to have. I suppose I want to go to the range, or I want to go into, I got a big backyard in the middle of Wyoming somewhere. I want to shoot off as many rounds as possible. I suppose there's a few incidents where you might be to use it for that, but otherwise, there's no need for that. There is absolutely no need for it. And if you are somebody looking to cause mayhem, that absolutely increases the efficiency of causing mayhem. Where you just want to take out a bunch of random soft targets without any discretion of who you hit. The only ones that should have gave an AR-15 is military and law enforcement. Big Daddy, a lot of people agree with that, but a lot of folks disagree with it, which is why ARs are still legal. I can make a bump stock for $10, but not worth it. Full auto is for suppressive fire. I'm not a huge, firearms person so I don't want to go too deep into it and sound like an idiot, because I'll admit I don't know a lot about things at that level, but I do know bump stocks drop the accuracy of a firearm significantly. Unless you got a huge target the size of a concert and you want to dump as many rounds into it as possible, then a bump stock is actually a great thing to have for taking out a bunch of innocent people. I was never convicted of anything in my care. My case was dismissed they took my gun away before it was adjudicated. The average citizen doesn't get the benefits of a lot of this. Like Trump is getting a lot of benefits in court. Like you're talking about in your case where you had your firearm taken before the case was adjudicated. They can railroad the average citizen without a lot of financial resources like that. like what Trump is doing in court, openly criticizing judges and releasing people's addresses, you or I would be in jail for that. Not only would we be held in contempt and locked up, they would probably come up with another case, like another crime. So you'd have a whole nother case for that. Like if you gave out the judge's address or the clerk's address and someone threw a brick through their window or something like that, they would probably have a way of charging you with a crime for it. But because President Trump has infinite legal resources, he's skirting that. He's not going to face that. But he is benefiting in ways that you or I never would. Think about that the next time you hear someone suggest that Trump is the victim of a two-tier justice system. He's also benefiting from a two-tier justice system. He is doing a lot of things that you or I would never get away with. There's no way in hell you'd be violating court order after court order like that and not be given some type of jail time, 30 days, 60 days. He is violating that all over the place. And Fancy Prancy says Biden too. Yeah, I don't disagree, but Biden hasn't been charged with anything yet. Biden is not benefiting from court. He hasn't been charged with anything yet. Now, maybe his son, absolutely his son, where he was going to get off with a slap on the wrist. So I'm not going to deny that the Bidens would benefit from this as well. But Trump is going to get more attention because he's being so egregious with it. I mean, the Biden family, talking about Hunter in particular, it looks like Hunter Biden absolutely has committed crimes. He's pled guilty to some of it already. But it's a difference between committing crimes and then attacking the judges while you're in court. While the case is still in session, the Bidens aren't doing that. They're in court pleading their innocence. It may be full of shit, but they're not in court attacking. The judge doesn't have any say-so in regards to the cases that come before him. You're told this is what's on the docket tomorrow. This is the defendant in your case. This is the next case as a judge you got to do. You can recuse yourself and say you don't want it, but the judges aren't picking their own cases. So all of a sudden the judge gets a case of Trump and now he's suddenly an idiot, or, he's suddenly a liberal planter. He didn't have any choice in that. That's wrong for Trump to be doing that while expecting a fair trial. It's just wrong. It doesn't make any sense. I want to have fun with my honkies. What the hell? Cheeky chops. What the hell are you talking about on YouTube? Biden should do the same thing if he loses, because I'm not a fan of anybody handing out. Listen, you can be pissed off at the judge because they're going to make decisions on your life. The clerk sitting next to the judge, I'm not a fan of anybody. I wouldn't want Biden doing that. We can't have a justice system where folks are doing this, because you're going to start having lower level citizens saying, well, you let him get away with it, he set a precedent. I think that there's a problem with that. And I see somebody in the comments said exactly what I said, because Trump is setting the precedent. Yep. I definitely agree with that. You're on fire, says user. Thank you. I didn't know. Let me see if I can make the box work this time. We've been having problems with the box. Stick the ruler.
Hey, what's going on, Tim?
Not much at all. Why do so many folks fear President Trump? Progressives, Democrats, traditional Republicans, hell, even MAGA is saying that people are scared of President Trump. Why are so many people fearful of the former president?
Well, fearful, I guess they could be fearful in a couple of different ways. Fearful of what he might do if he becomes president. Fearful of the retribution that he's going to hand out if he becomes president.
Do you think that's possible? Do you think that he's going to hand out retribution if he gets reelected?
I mean, at this point, I don't know what he'll do. He said a lot of things. He's, in a sense, tried to do a lot of things. I can't say that he's actually done a lot of things, but he's tried to do a lot of things. And just the way he set up the Supreme Court, to me, I mean, it shows you exactly what the Republican Party and or MAGA tends to do. So at this point, it's just one of those things where if he calls it the revenge tour, you have to take him for his word.
But so what about yourself? Do you favor Trump getting reelected?
No.
Why not?
I really don't think he thought being president through. I really think that it caught him by surprise. I really think that he didn't know that he actually, off of his fame being on TV, that he would actually get it.
True. I believe that.
The president.
But I mean,
I don't believe he was prepared.
But even if you're suggesting he wasn't prepared, a lot of people like how the country was ran when he was in office. I mean, is it possible that if he gets reelected, the economy would be even better than folks suggest it is now?
Well, I'm gonna just say when he came in, the country was in cruise control already. We don't have to go over who put it in cruise control. Just know it was on the up and up. Things were getting better, and I just see it now, especially in my lifetime. Twice that the economy was kind of brought back together, and then now that everything's fine, okay, let's get another Republican in there, and then they throw a monkey wrench in the system. So he's just a second guy to throw a monkey wrench, because as much as everybody likes to brag on his tax plan, when you charging more than you're taking in, it's going to cause a deficit, and then with that deficit, everything else follows. Everything that we're going through right now follows. So that's the layman's way to put it, but I think a lot of people need to understand that. And we're a lot better than where we were 2 years ago.
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, 2 years ago we were doing a pandemic, though. I mean, do you hold Trump?
Yeah. So again, we were still doing a lot better for the simple fact businesses were closed down, people weren't working. Then once they found out that they could stay home and get paid, after the pandemic was over, people stayed home and got paid until it ran out.
But let's go before the pandemic. We started getting the first cases of COVID November, December of 2019. So Trump got inaugurated in January of 2017. So from 2017, right before the pandemic began, do you think America was better off during the earlier part of Trump's presidency before the pandemic or now?
Well, again, I'll say it again. Yes, it was during his presidency, but like I said, the country was already in cruise control on its way back from, I got to say it now, from what Obama did with the country and how he went and started getting on the people at Wall Street. Hey, you can't do this, getting on the banks. And it was just more than people getting a paycheck. And then people got paychecks, and now look at us.
Yeah. You know, I want to interrupt you and say this. It's interesting you're talking about the country being on cruise control and how much better it was ran with Obama, because there is a video that surfaced, and I've been meaning to put it on my channel or do a live about it, that surfaced where Trump is stating the economy does better under Democrats. It's an older video, but he is on video stating the country does better economically under Democratic presidents. And he starts talking about Clinton and Reagan and all of them. He goes down and covers it. And it hasn't been well known of a video, but they have found this. Now,
well, it's not well known of a video because now he's in that party that he was talking about, first of all. Second of all, again, he doubled downs. I think we had this conversation before where I told you Trump doubles downs on everything. Now, what I mean by double down, I don't mean like back what he originally said. I mean, he gives himself wiggle room to be right, basically right. Not wrong, right. Because, again, with the jab, it was, it's going to be safe, warp speed, blah, blah, blah. Then he came back and said, don't take the jab. So either way, he gave himself wiggle room to be right. Maybe it was good, maybe it wasn't. You know what I mean? I said that.
Plausible, it's called plausible deniability is what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's smart.
That's what he does. He's doing it with the elections. He's doing that too. You know what I mean? He's telling everybody to go vote, but then at the same time, he's telling them if I lose, it's rigged.
Yeah.
So you already set yourself up to see. I told you. And then if he doesn't win, I mean, if he wins, what did he do? He went quiet. He went silent. He didn't have nothing to say. So, I mean, again, it's one of those. If you're paying attention, hell, you ain't got to pay attention. It's sucking you all in your damn mouth. If you don't feel that, if you don't see it, I mean, if you don't have a couple of black eyes and just steadily looking at it, I don't know what to say. I mean, really, I don't know what to say. I believe everybody should be able to get their opinion out and should be able to vote how they want to. But at the same time, Forrest Gump mama said, stupid is as stupid does.
All right, I'm going to end it on that. Classic Gump. All right, appreciate you coming in. And by the way, Happy New Year's to you, man.
All right, Happy New Year's.
All right, good talk. All right, look, I want to respond to one of my, because we run a program simultaneously on YouTube. And by the way, tap the screen, folks. Get your boy up to about 75,000, if you will. Show your boy some love. We still got almost 300 of you in here. It does help out the algorithm. Program will remain MAGA friendly. You know how that works. But in regards to YouTube comment I saw, someone stated that Chicky Chops, one of my viewers on YouTube, everything you talk about starts from a media organization. Well, there's some validity to that. And I will say that when you're talking about presidents, senators, folks at the upper level in Washington, where else are you going to get your information? Whether you're getting it from Fox or CNN or MSNBC or Bonadingo or whatever his name is, or you're getting it from Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan, all of that's media. You're not sitting with these folks. So everyone, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on or what opinion you have, it's media related. If you believe that Trump is guilty or if you believe it's a witch hunt, you're getting that from the media. You don't have access to the cases, the data, or any of the evidence that's coming out. You're making your judgment based on what's happening with the media. Same thing with folks on January 6th. They believe the election was stolen. You don't have access to what the election officials have asked. You're going by what Trump told you. That's it. You're going by what the folks on the right are telling you. That Dominion switch votes or Ruby Freeman, you don't have access to these people. So the point we do come to a lot of conclusions in this country based on the media, but everybody does. Where else are you going to get your information? If you think Trump had a great economy nationwide, you're not all over the nation. You're getting it from the media. Somebody is telling you that, and you're believing or you're disbelieving. But that's how it works. Looking at the comments. We had QE for 15 years. What is QE? QE for 15 years. You can't blame post-COVID inflation on something that started 15 years ago. Okay, so you're saying what happened after COVID under the Biden administration, you can't blame that on Biden? I don't totally agree with that, because now that the numbers are getting better, a lot of folks on the right think the economy sucks under Biden, but in reality, it is better than it was in 2021 or 2022. There's no denying that the economy is getting better. Biden is taking credit for that. So when you say you can't blame what happened in, several years ago on Biden, he's taking credit when it's getting better. So it is what it is. Looking in the comments, we'll keep the program. Obama started quantitative easing. That's what you're talking about. Okay, whatever the case may be, what's happening positive under Trump's economy or under Biden's economy, they are taking credit for it. They're not blaming Obama. That's all I'm telling you. Just like you got a lot of folks on the right, the liberals are responsible for high crime. But then when it happens under Republican administration, they don't say that. People take credit for the good and they deflect the bad. That's just part of politics. Happens all the time. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Should have been up to about 70,000. You guys, let your thumbs not be lazy. I can't wait when Trump wins, says Cheeky Chops. Could happen. 10 months in a few days. 10 months in a few days. The election is 10 months and a few days away. So it could happen. I want to see the tears from, there's going to be some tears, regardless of Trump wins or loses. There's going to be some tears in this country, because if Trump wins, the liberals are deathly afraid of a second term of Trump. Crying, protesting in the streets, might get violent, you name it. That's if Trump wins. If Trump loses, I think we can say with a fair bit of certainty, he's not going to say it was a fair and free election. I think we can say that with a fair bit of certainty, leading folks to believe that the election was stolen from him. That also is going to cause tears, as you put it, perhaps tears of anger. And once again, the country's not going to accept Trump winning or losing. I don't think there's any way to agree with that. And Cheeky Chop said I smashed the YouTube button. Thank you for that. I do appreciate that. I don't think there's any way. Let me just say this. I think that when it comes to Trump, some of the beliefs that everybody is after Trump are so deep that right now, if Trump decided that he wants to get out of the running, people would say somebody got to him, made threats to him, maybe the elite, tried to, off him or something like that and made him change his mind. Trump is overweight. If he was to pass away today, I don't think there's anybody that would accept that he died of natural causes or some personal health issue. Somebody took his life. I think the conspiracies with Trump run so deep, I don't know how any normal event can happen that people will accept. They're not going to accept him losing, and they probably won't even accept him dying naturally. Guy could literally be old as Betty White, and folks will still say somebody got to him. The liberals got to him when he passed away at 99. They couldn't let it go. I don't think there's anything, the conspiracies around Trump are just that deep. I just, whenever he passes away, it's going to probably be worse than JFK. People are going to say somebody got to him. The MAGA wouldn't accept it. Nobody else would care. People would care. I'll tell you right now, this nation is so divided. And I do appreciate some of you folks that are tapping the screen, getting me closer to 70,000. Hopefully we get a little bit above that, but I do appreciate those who are tapping the screen. I would tell you right now that I don't see anybody accepting the outcome of the 2024 election, particularly on the right. I just think that if he doesn't win, it's going to be some kind of conspiracy surrounding it. And no matter, like I said, no matter when he passes away, it happened and it wasn't natural. Somebody got to the guy. I don't see any way around it. Looking in the comments real quick, and I see somebody else says, in regards to the comment that if Trump passed away, MAGA wouldn't accept it as a natural death, but nobody else would care. Unfortunately, what I was going to say before I started soliciting taps on the screen, and I see folks that are doing that, thank you. This country is so divided that if President Trump were to have health issues and lose his life due to, obesity, heart issue, whatever, the liberals would probably come out and celebrate. That's wrong. That is wrong. I'm just telling you, I don't agree with that at all. But I do believe if it happened to Biden, I don't know if the right way to celebrate it, because then you get Kamala Harris. He's in power. So you get Kamala Harris. That ain't going to make your day any better, because Kamala can speak and do all the stuff you're claiming that Biden can't do. So, but I do believe that if something were to happen to Trump, remember when bin Laden, Obama comes out on the red carpet, on my orders, SEAL Team 6, bin Laden, and people were out in the street, USA, that would happen. I do believe in a lot of liberal cities that would happen. It's embarrassing. It's wrong. I'm not saying it's right by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a lot of people that really, really hate Trump. And even though I'm not a fan of that deep-seated hatred, Trump enjoys rubbing salt on wounds, thereby increasing the level of hatred. He's a guy who is certainly not liked by a lot of folks on the left. But he's not some innocent guy that is just getting bashed for no reason at all. He likes fights. He likes conflict. And this is what comes along with it. And yeah, I do believe if something would have happened to him, people would celebrate. It is what it is. And I see Chicken Chop said it would be an epic night of TV. Yikes. Liberals, how awesome will this November 8th be when they are counting regions for that night? I'm going to tell you something, though. Before you start suggesting that Trump is a shoo-in for 2024, there's a lot of legal hurdles he got to get through. So a lot of those court cases are real cases. There's a lot of legal hurdles he got to get through. Don't look. What do they say about counting your eggs or something like that before they hatch? Not saying he may not successfully navigate everything and win, but it's not a cakewalk. It is not a cakewalk. There would be chaos in the streets from coast to coast. I think there's going to be chaos in the streets no matter what happens in November. Because, as I keep saying, Trump, I think, kind of likes it a little bit. Even Nikki Haley is running that commercial saying you can't defeat chaos on the left with chaos on the right. She's kind of running that anti-Trump commercial. But I do believe that Trump says things, whether you may not be to charge him in court, but he says things that we would expect outrage from. He says things that are naturally divisive. Now, he's not the only one doing it. We've talked about Maxine Waters and some of them folks on the left. I don't disagree with that, but Trump certainly he's not one to try to soothe the nation, to try to calm us down. He's trying to hype people up, and it works. It does work. Looking in the comments real quick. No chaos, just a bunch of people crying again. Say, well, there's a thin line between crying and chaos. If a person is crying out of anger, they may be very damn chaotic as well. So, and also, you can't keep complaining about people crying when you're taking pleasure in creating the tears. Isn't that what you want? I'm drinking liberal tears. A lot of folks on the right say that if you want the libs to cry, quit complaining when they cry. They're not crying for no reason at all. You're making it clear, I want them to cry. Okay, then they're crying. They're crying, they're doing what you want. Well, you didn't vote for the president because you're in your feelings. You should vote for the president. Who cares about what he's saying in tweets? Vote for the guy based on what he does, not what he says. Then why does he have to keep saying it? If you know people are voting based on their feelings or voting based on emotion, and you want to win, quit making people emotional. That doesn't make, certainly if it's not necessary. I'm not here to pretend like sometimes you don't have to say shit that the people don't like. That's part of being a leader. But sometimes, and in Trump's case, many times, he gets involved in fights that are unnecessary. I'll give you a prime example. I mentioned this on Friday's show. For you folks who are old enough to have seen the movie Home Alone, remember Trump had a cameo in the movie Home Alone. That cameo was filmed at one of Trump's skyscrapers out in New York. It was filmed in one of Trump's properties he owned at the time. Recently, and I'm talking within the last month, the director of Home Alone stated that when they wanted to use Trump's location to film the Home Alone building, or film the Home Alone clip, he stated that they could not use his property unless he could have a cameo in the movie. Oh, I love that. The reindeer, Gen X, thank you. Rudolph the Black-Nosed Reindeer, shout out to you. Thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to you and yours too. Thank you. Appreciate that. The director of Home Alone stated that Trump would not let them use his location unless he could be in the movie. Now, the director says that they ended up letting Trump have that cameo in Home Alone. All right. Why am I bringing up such an old-ass story? Well, Trump immediately got on X and stated that the director is lying his ass off and begged Trump to be in the movie. And that is why the movie to this day is so damn popular. That's what Trump responded back. I'm not here to say either side is right or wrong. I don't give a damn about a 30-year-old movie. The point I'm making is, when you talk about people voting based on emotion and voting based on feeling, why do you have to respond back to some bullshit like this? Home Alone hasn't been in theaters in over a generation. Who gives a shit what the director has to say? Nobody cares about dude. The fact that he could get you to go on X and actually follow that up is what we're talking about when you say, well, you shouldn't vote on emotion. Well, you don't have to make everybody emotional. You don't have to show up to every fight you're invited to. Something like that, you let that shit roll off your shoulder. Nobody gives a damn of some director that's probably washed up by now, considering Home Alone is almost 35 years old. Who cares? So that's the point I'm making, is Trump likes to fight. He likes to get in battles. It's just my beloved MAGA don't like when he gets hit back. If you like to get in fights, eventually people are going to hit you. And that's what happens with him. And that's why a lot of folks don't support him come election time. It's not necessary. You got the likes of Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson. Let some of the right-wing talking heads handle that low shit. Trump could pick up the phone and tell Sean Hannity, you know, say some shit about this. I don't think what he said about me is right. And Sean Hannity would run a whole talk show on it. You don't need to go after everybody. You got tons of henchmen, tons of goons if you're Trump. You don't need to do this personally. You don't need to always get your hands dirty. That's just my take on it. Anyhow, looking in the comments real quick, I appreciate the 70,000 you guys have been tapping the screen. I do appreciate that. Trump used to be president of America, and today he's arguing with the Home Alone directive. Really? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about, is that it doesn't matter if you're a high school child in the middle of Wisconsin. If you say something negative about Trump and it gets enough attention, he will attack you back. You just don't have to do that. Remember the claim in the beginning of Trump's term that he was attacking Gold Star families? You know how many Gold Star families went after George W. Bush for the Iraq War? The Cindy Sheehans and all of them folks that went after him for that. He didn't go back after any of them. Let them people grieve. You don't have to attack somebody who's lost a damn kid in a war. Trump was doing that. He would do stuff like that. That comes with a consequence. It's free speech. He's entitled to say what he wants, but that does come with consequence. Certainly come election time. Looking in the comments real quick, Susie Q says, vote. Let's keep Donald J. Trump out of the White House. We'll see. I'm just a data guy, sipping my coffee. Well, TikTok, arm fighter, love the name. Everybody's not data guys, though. Some people do vote. Good example. Remember when Obama suggested that Republicans cling to their Bibles and their guns? That's just a statement. It had nothing to do with data. They were pissed off about it. Remember Hillary Clinton's deplorable comment? Just a statement. Nothing to do with data. Folks were pissed off about it. I've said this numerous times on this program in regards to those who suggested liberals are snowflakes and people were voting based on their emotions and feelings. If Obama or President Biden was giving us the exact same policies as Trump, same economy and everything that the folks on the right love, but was regularly insulting gun owners and Christians, they would have a big problem about that too. Fact is, it's a lot easier to ignore somebody's insults when they're not aimed at you. That's what it's not that folks should overlook Trump's insults. It's that he's not talking about me, so I don't give a damn. That's the difference. If anybody given Trump's economy was in the White House, aiming all their insults and criticisms at Republicans, they wouldn't like him either. It is what it is. It ain't to bash Trump. I don't know any president that could do what Trump did and not have a lot of people hate him. Doesn't matter who you are. You see all of these controversial shootings and ass kickings by police that happen when you talk shit to a cop. Nobody likes you talking shit to them and about them. Nobody does. You want to tell the cop? Pay attention to what I'm doing, not all of the shit I'm calling you. Doesn't work like that. Yeah, I got my hands on 10 and 2. I gave you my insurance and I'm cooperating, but I'm calling you all kinds of names and insults. You think that's going to work on the side of the road? Think you're going to have a nice day doing that? No. People pay attention to what you say, regardless if you want to defend Trump with that or not. People will always hear what you say. Anyhow, folks, I do appreciate you tuning in. I've rambled on enough, had a lot of pleasure speaking with some of you folks this New Year's. Happy New Year's to you and yours. We will be on tomorrow at noon as normal. Once again, if you enjoy civilized dialogue both sides of the aisle without any concern of the host trying to block, censor, or limit your time, follow the program. We are here Monday through Friday. Until then, you guys take care. I'll see you tomorrow. YouTube, one of you guys are remaining on there. Cheeky Chops was pretty active in the comments today. I do appreciate you folks. I will see you tomorrow, as Annie would say.